Alright. I saw your comments, friend. I initially avoided this video story for a while because I don't have as much knowledge about Jujutsu Kaisen. I haven't had as much time to get into it. I've only watched about half of the first season, which actually feels like a travesty. But with how popular the manga is currently, I've been considering finding a place to jump back in. And so I started looking up some of the powers, hoping to explain to me why everyone thinks that Gojo can beat Goku. But honestly, I don't want to get into that debate because, as I said, my experience with Jujutsu Kaisen is very little. But I mean, how hard can it be to port over a simple power like Six Eyes and Limitless? Uh-oh. Maybe I should have just done the what if Jotaro Kujo was a Konoha shinobi instead. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Everyone's story starts relatively the same way. There are different variations to this story, but most scholars agree that every real-world story generally starts with a person being born. And that is no different in Naruto. It was a cold and crisp fall night, October 10th. The fourth Hokage and his wife, Kushina Uzumaki, were prepared in a secret location to give birth to their first child, Naruto. Unbeknownst to them, this would be their only child, and sadly, they would not live to see him grow up. For years, their own child would not even know who they were. This was the fate that destiny had written for them. The babe was born, and the moment its eyes opened, all in the room gasped to see how clear and blue these eyes were. It was as if an angel had stepped out of heaven and entered the body of this tiny child. They were mesmerized, which only made the babe's tears all the more heart-wrenching. Bringing the baby to its mother, they lay it upon her chest for her to hold. Minato, ever jealous, slowly made his way toward her. But this was when tragedy struck. A ghost from the past appeared and took the child up in his arms, ready to kill it unless he got what he wanted. And this led to a scuffle in which Kushina was taken. Naruto was taken by Minato, who would bring him to a small cottage outside the village proper. There, Naruto would be laid down. The stress from the process of birth had drained the poor babe of energy and left it asleep. He did not know of the horrible events transpiring outside of his home. In the village, many people were dying. Minato had to stop this. A moment after, the bed would shift as another body was laid in it. This was Kushina. Minato had rescued her, but she wasn't in good shape. Naruto hardly noticed this, however, as he was still sleeping the sleep of the innocent, blissfully unaware of the cataclysm taking place just beyond the mountains, or the position his parents were in. "Naruto," Kushina said as she snuggled closer to him. Naruto, even as a babe, still possessed the thinking power required to notice things. Inborn intelligence, something all people had but couldn't remember. Wordless thoughts, ideas that could not be expressed or understood by any but himself. But if one could translate what he thought at this moment, it would be akin to, "She's cold. I'm cold. Why is she sad?" The truth of the matter was that Kushina was dying, and she knew she was dying. She knew she would not get to see Naruto grow up, and she knew that those she loved in the village were suffering because of her self-identified failure. She failed as a wife, as a mother, and as a Jinchuriki. Kushina's heart was in anguish, blaming herself for forcing Minato to choose, blaming herself for leaving her child behind at the cusp of life, and blaming herself for not somehow stopping the Ninetales from being removed and causing havoc. This emotional turmoil had her both wishing she could die and wishing she could live at the same moment. To live for those she loved, to die for her shame. All she could do was cuddle the tiny body that once had been a part of her, offer it what little comfort she had been denied. It was quiet. No, there were sounds in the distance. Drums? Explosions. The cacophony of war, the smell of smoke, blood, and sweat. That smell only grew more intense as a charge was felt in the air, as if lightning was about to strike. And suddenly it did, an explosion that blew the house away. Minato, making a hard choice, had teleported the tailed beast back to their home. The house was destroyed, everything blown apart. Kushina, in a moment of motherly instinct, wrapped her body around Naruto to cushion him as they flew through the air. She landed on her back and rolled along the ground. The first thing she thought to check was if Naruto was okay, which of course he was. But Kushina, on the other hand, felt as if at least 2 of her ribs were broken, others were bruised. She managed to find a place to put Naruto and began to enter the fight. Naruto was crying from the experience. For what reason should one be brought into a world in such a turbulent place? Where was the peace of a bed? Where was the warmth of a mother? This child was surrounded by only cold and death. For this child, winter had come early, and with it, the bitter winds that finished off what little life autumn had spared. There was fighting and the sound of chains, the sound of death moving through the forest to answer the siren call of hand signs and the flow of chakra. A growl and a cry. He felt the warmth of his parents' blood dripping on his little chest. And for that moment, time stopped. Reality had offered them a brief respite. Naruto heard the words of his parents. What were they saying? He could hardly make sense of it, but he didn't need to. Their words carried with them their hearts, and that brought Naruto peace. But this time would not last forever. Time resumed, and suddenly Naruto felt as if he had been punched in the stomach, his body being invaded by the malevolent force of a ravenous beast that threatened to rip him apart. But within his very soul, two lights shined, and those two lights fought a second, smaller battle. One to force dominion over the beast into the hands of the baby, to put the keys to the cage of destruction into his hand. And with that, the world returned to balance, equilibrium, the state in which everything was returning. And now that there was time to breathe, there was also time to wail. Over the mountains, the screams of childless mothers and motherless children echoed. The sounds of shinobi, killers whose hearts were so soft that they cried for the dead they never knew. Pain. That was what this world was attempting to teach Naruto. Pain. Fresh from the womb, and he was already learning life's hardest lesson. Sorrowfully for this child, this was but the beginning of the tribulations. Hiruzen would find the babe and lift him into his arms. The child of the late Kushina Uzumaki and the fourth Hokage, the legendary Minato Namikaze. It was so weak that it could hardly shiver in his arms anymore. He needed to find it help, and to that end, he would bring it to the Konoha hospital to rest, vowing to his parents that he would not leave Naruto to die in the gutters. And that's what he did, no more and no less. Hiruzen had his pros and cons, as I suppose any political leader does, but the point was he had very little to do with Naruto. Not so much that he didn't want to, but the point was he was the center of such a volatile situation. If Hiruzen ever openly embraced Naruto, he'd be pushed from office, his head removed from the monument. But perhaps that was his duty. Perhaps his legacy and status didn't matter, but the job. These were feelings Hiruzen so often struggled with, but like many things in his time, he was too weak to do anything about it. Naruto continued to grow, and as he did, he found himself many days at around the same time, 4 p.m., developing a killer migraine. Hiruzen walked in on him one day as he suffered through this. He asked what was wrong with Naruto, and Naruto said his head hurt and that his eyes were in pain. He had a warm rag laying across his face. As Hiruzen sat down, Naruto would suddenly tell him to stop. A moment passed. Naruto pointed somewhere else in the room. "Sit on that chair. This one has a bad leg. It'll break if an adult sits on it." Hiruzen noticed this as he looked at it. "How did you know?" he asked Naruto. Naruto shrugged. "Same way you do. I'm looking at it." Hiruzen seemed confused. "Wait, you can see me right now?" Naruto nodded. Hiruzen slowly turned his hat around. "If you can, then tell me what's wrong with my outfit. You're wearing your hat backwards now." Hiruzen seemed startled by this. Returning his hat to its rightful position, he would slowly remove the rag from Naruto's eyes and look at them. For a moment, he had assumed that they were Byakugan, but they looked nothing like them. Such a dojutsu had never before existed to their knowledge. So what was this? Perhaps a mutation in his DNA? Genetics? He would have them checked out by an ophthalmologist who just so happened to be in the Hyuga clan. They would let him know that it bears no resemblance to any dojutsu they've seen before, let alone the Byakugan. Hiruzen would ask them if there's a reason why he constantly gets migraines. The ophthalmologist would say that despite the fact that these eyes don't consume any chakra, with all the details and the way that they can see, they get strained easily. The ophthalmologist asks if Naruto can possibly turn this dojutsu off, to which he claims he can't. The ophthalmologist thinks for a moment. "It works like an active Byakugan at all times. Best course of action, if you ask me, would be to reduce eye strain. The way to do that would likely be by covering his eyes with something for most parts of the day." Hiruzen asks if that would affect him negatively. The ophthalmologist shakes his head. "No, we're merely restricting his vision a little. We're treating this the opposite way one would treat an astigmatism. Instead of giving him glasses to help him see better, we're going to be putting something in front of them to obstruct his vision in hopes that it lowers the strain of all the information his brain has to process. Something as simple as blacked out glasses or even a simple cloth covering should work, and it shouldn't negatively impact his ability to see or read. And so that's what they did. Hiruzen would offer Naruto a pair of green goggles to wear. These goggles would have blacked out lenses in them so that he could wear them at all times. After this, Naruto's issue completely vanished. However, this did cause him to fall behind in school, as he had yet to realize that if he left them uncovered during the time he was receiving a demonstration, he could have picked up techniques as quickly as an Uchiha or a Hyuga. But because of this, he slowly began falling behind in classes, failing time after time. He could not create a simple clone or do any other jutsu. This left Naruto very sad on the swing. Watching his friends pass and move on, he felt as if he would never become a shinobi, not like Iruka, let alone become Hokage. He hoped that by becoming Hokage, or at least a really good ninja, that perhaps he may be accepted, but nothing seemed to be working. That was until Mizuki convinces him to steal the Scroll of Seals. Boy, that was a crap fest. Naruto stole it and he knew it was wrong, but he didn't know how wrong. And so he opened the scroll and began looking into it with how to learn to make clones. To help understand better, he took off his goggles, and he indeed did learn how to make shadow clones, but he learned how to do far more than that. On a page that seemed to talk about Izanagi, he discovered two lesser talked about chakra natures, yin release and yang release, dark and light nature. He knew about these to a point, but not that much. He grew fascinated with the concept of using these two chakra natures, since both existed in everyone to a point. In fact, the other chakra types originated from these two types. He hoped to use the scroll to practice it, but he didn't have much time, as Mizuki would appear to take it. But Iruka also made his appearance. He tried to convince Naruto not to give the scroll up, while Mizuki attempted to convince him to hand it over. This led to a fight that Iruka was losing, and so Naruto would run as far away as possible. But Mizuki was faster than him. He eventually caught Naruto where he had nowhere left to go. Naruto held the scroll tightly in his arms as he witnessed Mizuki growing closer and closer to him. "You should have just given me the scroll, boy. If you had, maybe you wouldn't have needed to die. But now, well, let's just say I'm going to do Konoha a favor." He rushes at Naruto. Naruto holds his hands out in front to protect himself, and through his tears he pleads with Mizuki, "Stop!" All goes silent. Naruto is left there, wondering what's going on. He opens his eyes and sees Mizuki standing before him, unable to move. "What's happening?" Mizuki demands as he struggles against the technique. Naruto stands and looks at this. He makes his way past Mizuki, confused, and once more begins to run. Mizuki would catch up with him again, jumping down from above to strike Naruto, but for the second time he finds himself unable to move, this time suspended in midair. Naruto looks at his hands and realizes that he's the one doing this. He can stop any attack in its tracks. "How busted is this?" Naruto shouts with a grin and a laugh. He looks up at Mizuki. "Oh, what's wrong? I thought you were gonna kill me. What's up? Can't kill a little boy all by yourself? And you call yourself a Chunin? More like a dumb nin." He then summons various shadow clones to absolutely stomp Mizuki. In the end, the scroll is returned, Naruto is pardoned, and Mizuki is thrown in prison for his crimes. Naruto would then be offered a Konoha forehead protector to prove that he is now a true Konoha shinobi. He would gladly receive this, preferring to use it instead of the goggles, wrapping it around his head, letting the cloth fall down over both eyes to reduce eye strain. It's not long after this that he ends up back at the academy to receive his new mentor and his team. The other kids think it's strange that Naruto is running around with his eyes covered. They think he must certainly be an idiot, and even a few kids try to pick on him about it, trying to trip him, but he easily steps over their feet and releases a small kick to knock their feet away, garnering attention from the other children. Naruto would wait by his seat. After the trick he pulled, Naruto is slowly getting more and more attention from others in class, which seems to steal the show from Sasuke a bit, not that he cares all that much. Sakura can't pull herself away from Sasuke, which leaves Naruto a little bitter. After some time, they're told that they're all on the same team together and told to go meet their new mentor, Kakashi Hatake. The group wait in anticipation of him. Kakashi eventually walks in and sees the group. Immediately seeing Naruto sitting there with his eyes covered, he speaks. "Well, you don't have to make fun of me." "I'm not," Naruto said. "Well, then you're copying me," Kakashi said. Naruto shakes his head. "No, I'm not copying you." Kakashi scoffs. "Whether the author wants to admit it or not, you're copying me." Naruto thinks how true this must be, but in the grand scheme of the story, it doesn't matter. They then have their standard meet and greet, which mostly doesn't change, with everyone asking and answering their own questions. But a new question crops up that everyone is interested to know, and it's why Naruto covers his eyes all the time. Naruto explains that his eyesight is so good that he gets eye strain just by keeping them open, so he keeps them covered, but also tells them not to worry because he can actually see just fine. Kakashi tosses an apple to Naruto to test if what he's saying is actually correct, and to his surprise, Naruto does catch the apple. Not only that, he tells Kakashi that he might want to wait a little before he eats it because it seems a little too green for him. He tosses it back. Kakashi is impressed, but then the question comes from Naruto. "I told you why my eyes are covered. It's only fair that you tell me why yours are." Kakashi smiles under his mask. "I would tell you if it was any of your business." "No fair! I told you mine!" Naruto shouts. Kakashi raises a finger. Rule number 1 about being a shinobi. Never give away information you can't afford to lose. There's no guarantee you'll get anything in return for it. And so they begin the bell test as per usual. Naruto is very confident in this, but the issue is that his shadow clones are too weak to actually attack Kakashi, and his other ability, the Limitless, is a defensive ability that he hasn't figured out how to use in any other way, so there's no way for him to use it to get the bells. He'll have to draw Kakashi into an attack, and it seems that Kakashi is intentionally resisting engaging with Naruto in close quarters combat. This is likely because he has already heard about Naruto's Limitless ability. Despite what Naruto tries, he can't get close to Kakashi, and this bums him out. Convinced they'll fail anyway, he decides to basically quit and just eat lunch early, but Kakashi catches him. His punishment is to be tied to a post and left unfed in preparation for round 2, which will surely make him too weak to succeed. However, against orders, Sasuke and Sakura feed Naruto, knowing that their best chance of success is when everyone is at full strength, and that means Naruto too. This was the plan, however, and Kakashi passes them. After this, nothing happens until the Land of Waves mission. While on their way back to the Land of Waves with Tazuna, Naruto is suddenly targeted by the Demon Brothers, but Naruto holds out his hand and catches them in the Limitless, something that astounds everyone on his team as well as Tazuna. Kakashi had heard of this before, but up until now he had never witnessed it with his own eyes. He attempted to figure out what Naruto was doing in hopes that maybe it could be replicated, but from what he could see, this jutsu was a possible Kekai Genkai, something bred into him to use that could not be replicated. Through this, Naruto manages to defeat the Demon Brothers, and when Zabuza shows up, Kakashi would more than likely attempt to face him alone, which leads to the same outcome. With Kakashi in the water prison, it's up to Naruto and Sasuke to deal with this, so they begin to come up with a plan. They settle on something simple. Naruto rushes Zabuza using the Limitless, and while Zabuza attempts to attack him, Sasuke sneaks around to break his grip on the prison. As Zabuza's blade is caught by Naruto, Sasuke makes his move and manages to free Kakashi. Together, they drive Zabuza off. Kakashi is left weakened by this and has to rest. During his time resting, Naruto questions him on his abilities, telling Kakashi that he's like Naruto and that he has a special eye technique too. Naruto wants to know more about it, and because Sasuke is standing by him with a demanding look on his face, having witnessed the use of the Sharingan by a non-Uchiha, Kakashi feels the need to tell them. "I was once a part of a team very similar to this one. On that team, there was another boy named Obito who possessed the Sharingan. He considered me his rival, and I considered him an annoyance. We were never really all that close. If anything, I think he resented me for the most part. But one day, during the Third Shinobi World War, I was leading a mission and made a bad call, and nearly left one of my teammates to die. Obito refused this and raced back after her, and I followed soon after. I reached the battle just in time to save Obito from being killed, but in the process, lost my left eye. When all was said and done, we had won the battle and our friend was safe. However, a cave-in brought the cave down around us, and in a moment of self-sacrifice, Obito pushed me out of the cave, sacrificing his life." "Oh, was that the friend you were telling me about?" Naruto asked. Kakashi nodded. "When you said you wanted your name on that monument for heroes, I told you it was a bad idea because it was a memorial for those who died defending Konoha. Obito's name was on it." Naruto nodded in understanding. Sasuke continued listening. Kakashi went on. "Obito's entire right side was crushed. Only his left side was free, but he was dying. He told me he was sorry for not getting me a present when I became Jonin, and instead offered me a Sharingan to replace my lost eye, insisting that I take it. I didn't think I should, but he wanted me to, and made me promise to protect our friend Rin." "And you did?" Naruto asked. Kakashi sat there silently for a moment. "No, I failed him on that front, too." "Oh man, that's so sad," Naruto said. "And what did the Uchiha say about it?" Sasuke asked. "They said that if it was Obito's dying wish, that it should be respected, and they agreed to let me keep it." Sasuke stood. "Then I'm satisfied. He would walk off, leaving Naruto and Kakashi alone. "I guess we're not too different, huh, Naruto? We both have special eyes that allow us to see things that the world can't. I can see what the world truly is, all the pain and suffering, and you can see what the world could be. Perhaps we were always meant to be student and mentor." Naruto smiled, and from there, Naruto and Sasuke trained until they collapsed to become better shinobi, worthy of making Kakashi and the whole of the Hidden Leaf proud. The day after, however, the bridge found itself under attack, and Naruto and Sasuke found themselves caught in the demonic mirroring ice crystals technique of Haku. However, as Haku threw Senbon down at his targets, Naruto caught them with his Limitless, ensuring that neither he nor Sasuke could be hurt. They began brainstorming a way to beat Haku, but in the end they didn't need to, as Kakashi had Zabuza on the ropes. This led to Haku abandoning his targets to sacrifice himself for Zabuza. A sacrifice that didn't really dissuade him much, as he still continued fighting Kakashi even though he was completely outskilled. However, Haku's sacrifice was enough to help Zabuza change his way of thinking, and in the end, Zabuza gave his life to protect the bridge by killing Gato and the majority of his men. This seemed tragic to Naruto, but Kakashi informed him that this was what the shinobi world was, and that he would have to get used to it if they were going to make it as ninja. And so, the four returned home and reported that the mission was completed. Due to how the mission had suddenly become of higher rank than believed, and in seeing both the skill and abilities of his team, Kakashi recommended that they be allowed to enter the Chunin exams, to which Hiruzen eventually agreed. Kakashi would inform his team that they would join the exams, and they immediately rushed to sign up, stopping only once Naruto was challenged by Rock Lee. He said that he had heard of this blindfolded menace and his power, and he was there to test himself against Naruto. Naruto agreed to the match, with Sakura and Sasuke watching on with interest. Rock Lee would come at Naruto and attempt to use taijutsu on him, but Naruto's use of the Limitless's neutral ability, Infinity, kept any attacks from connecting. Naruto told Lee that he should just give up, as his technique ensured that nobody could ever cross this barrier. Lee would tell him that nothing is impossible so long as someone has the will to work toward it. He would grow more ferocious, to which Naruto continued to catch his attacks. He would then spawn shadow clones to attack Lee, but Lee would easily destroy each one. This left Naruto playing the defensive. He knew that if he remained like this, he would force a stalemate, but there was no honor in this, as he could never truly defeat Rock Lee without it. Lee was using no jutsu, Naruto was. If Naruto were to play fair, he would lose, and deep down this annoyed him. All the same, Lee, in his determination, began opening the inner gates, pushing all the way to 5, displaying a power that Naruto was astounded by. But what was worse was that Naruto was starting to feel Lee's perspiration on his skin as he drew closer. For a moment, it looked like Lee's fist drew half an inch closer. Naruto had to keep walking back because it looked like, despite the Limitless's infinity, Lee was growing closer. How was this possible? Well, Sakura, who had been studying this, surmised it for Sasuke as such. When Naruto uses his Limitless ability, he takes a finite amount of space and divides the distance infinitely, essentially turning a finite amount of space into an infinite one. But this isn't immediately infinite. Now, the rate of division is only as fast as Naruto can divide, and it seems that Lee's speed is increasing to the point that it's overtaking the rate to which Naruto is dividing. Sasuke would nod, so his absolute defense isn't as absolute as it seems. It can be defeated with speed. Sakura nods. With sufficient speed, one should cross the distance that Naruto's dividing. As he grows stronger, the threshold may increase, but right now a fast enough shinobi should be able to get through it. Sasuke scoffs. That's what happens when you only play defense. However, before Lee could touch Naruto, he's stopped by Might Guy, who's appalled that Rock Lee would use his teachings so recklessly. And considering how much strain he put on himself, he's damaged his bones and muscles quite a bit, to the point that Guy isn't exactly sure that Lee would make it through the Chunin exams, so Lee is pulled out to rest. The rest of Team 7 make their way to registration, where they enter the exams. The first test is the written test, and Naruto actually manages to do well with this, as his 6 eyes give him such good perception that he's able to copy his paper from someone else. And when the final question is asked, he takes it, as does the rest of Team 7. This leads to them being passed for their gutsiness and allows them to go on to the next round. This new round consists of them entering a forest where they must make it to the center bearing both their Heaven Scroll and an Earth Scroll, which they must steal from another team. During their time here, Naruto and Sasuke are attacked by Orochimaru, and Naruto manages to defend Sasuke from Orochimaru with his Limitless Infinity technique. This stops Orochimaru from biting Sasuke and ensures that Orochimaru can't touch them. Naruto and Sasuke then launch a counter-offensive against Orochimaru, driving him off. Having left behind his Earth Scroll, Team 7 take it and make it to the center of the forest in near record time, coming in behind only Gaara and his sand siblings. With this done, they pass this round and continue on to the next, which consists of exhibition matches, to which Naruto, through his limitless technique, his battle IQ that's constantly developing, and his shadow clone jutsu, manages to win. They're given a month off to train, however, and during that month, Naruto and Jiraiya meet for the first time. Taking it upon himself to train Naruto, who possesses the Nine Tails and is also the son of both Minato and Kushina. Together, they work on connecting with the Nine Tails and Toad summoning. However, Naruto didn't even know he was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, let alone that he could use it, so Jiraiya has to take some drastic measures to ensure that Naruto actually learns how to draw power from this beast. As he falls from the cliff, Naruto is sucked into his subconscious where he meets Kurama for the first time. The beast seems hostile, but a part of him is intrigued by Naruto. "What are you?" Naruto asks. "I could ask the same of you," Kurama shoots back. "You're not like an ordinary human. You possess something more within you. Something different from chakra." Naruto's confused. "What do you mean?" Kurama's grin pulls up to the side of his face. "Within you, there's a darkness, like hatred, negative emotions that are without bound. I can sense it. But more than just emotion, you're now using them as a power source, an energy secondary to chakra. I am intrigued." Naruto is left speechless. Kurama continues. "Fine, I shall let you borrow some of my chakra for now, but only because I wish to see what you're capable of in the future." And with that, Naruto is back in the real world, plummeting to his doom. He would suddenly summon a toad, Gamabunta of all people. Naruto would explain to Jiraiya what Kurama had said, as well as the strange abilities Naruto had been born with. Jiraiya then begins to think that it's best if the two of them also train with this new ability. Naruto makes use of yin release and yang release, and Jiraiya listens to him and believes that they could use the concepts to take whatever energy source Kurama was talking about and form it into something new. And so, he and Naruto begin further incorporating this new cursed energy, as they've come to call it, into his limitless technique, which allows for the discovery of cursed technique lapse, blue. Through this technique, Naruto is suddenly capable of manipulating space-time in a different way, in such a way that he's able to create vacuums which can crush things or pull things to him, allow him to move at ungodly speeds, or even teleport. Or so Jiraiya theorizes. Naruto truly hasn't learned the latter, as it would require enough focus to be able to rip reality to him from such a distance. But in the short term, he can at least move fast enough that he can mimic the body flicker technique. Jiraiya believes that this technique will make Naruto even faster than Minato Namikaze. Naruto at this point is just happy that he has a technique that can be used offensively. And so Naruto returns to the Chunin exams after his month of training and finds that he's now capable of far more than he was before. Naruto is set to fight against Neji, but the moment their battle begins, Neji is in trouble. He can see Naruto's chakra points, but he can't strike them, as every time Neji gets close enough, he's struck by an invisible wall that seems to slow down anything that passes into it. Naruto's shadow clones seem to do some damage, but the battle truly comes to an end when Naruto uses Cursed Technique Lapse Blue on him. Naruto is angered by what Neji did to Hinata, and he feels like returning the favor a little, and only minorly crushes Neji's body. Alright, it's hard to minorly crush anyone, but Naruto does it gently enough as to not cripple Neji for life. After this comes the battle between Sasuke and Gaara, but before Sasuke can win, Gaara has a flip out and rushes off with his siblings, and Sasuke chases after. Kabuto would then cast a genjutsu over everyone and put them to sleep. However, Naruto does not fall asleep because his eyes are covered and he doesn't technically see the feathers fall. And even if he does, then his eyes are attentive enough to recognize what's going on and spare him from the genjutsu. Sakura also manages to figure out what it does quickly and closes her eyes. The two set off after Gaara and Sasuke, all the while Hiruzen and Orochimaru battle it out. Naruto and Sakura eventually catch up with Sasuke and aid him in fighting against Gaara, who proceeds to release Shukaku. Naruto, using Cursed Technique Lapse Blue, is capable of levitating in the air by manipulating the space around him. He manages to get close to Gaara despite Shukaku's attacks, all of which miss because of Limitless, and he manages to pull Gaara free, defeating Shukaku for the time being. All the same, he lets Gaara go, letting him know that he knows what it's like to be hated by his village, and that he has a demon fox inside of him just as Gaara has a demon tanuki. He does tell Gaara that he won't let anyone hurt his friends, and tells him not to return if he has ill intent, elsewise next time Naruto won't be so merciful. Gaara escapes and Team 7 return to the village. However, there's not much to return to as the village has been decimated by Orochimaru's attack, and Hiruzen is dead. Orochimaru escaped, but not without cost as his arms are now weakened due to being sealed away with the Reaper Death Seal. The entire village laments the loss of their Hokage, but time must move forward and Jiraiya is asked to bring Tsunade in to be the next Hokage. Jiraiya would ask Naruto to help him and Naruto would agree. The two set off, but just as they're leaving, Itachi and Kisame show up in the village searching for Naruto where they run afoul of Kakashi and Might Guy. Itachi manages to cast Kakashi under Tsukiyomi, but Itachi and Kisame both are caught off guard by Might Guy's strength and are forced to flee. This is hardly a deterrent though, as by this time they've realized that Naruto is out of the village. They pursue him and eventually catch up with him in a small town where they attack. However, Sasuke, who had heard that Itachi had shown up, chases him down to kill him, but only gets bodied by his older brother and left in a Genjutsu Itachi cast. Jiraiya and Naruto fight against Itachi and Kisame, pushing them back. And when Might Guy arrives, Itachi and Kisame feel that they've been outmatched and flee. Might Guy takes Sasuke with him and wishes them luck. Naruto and Jiraiya continue to the village where Tsunade is housed and attempt to convince her to return to Konoha, but she refuses and instead plans to stay right where she is. Unbeknownst to them, however, Orochimaru has contacted her and asked her to heal him. Tsunade plans to kill Orochimaru, and when that time comes, Naruto and Jiraiya crash the party and attempt to help Tsunade kill the snake. Orochimaru faces Jiraiya while Kabuto faces Naruto and Tsunade. Naruto manages to deflect all the attacks that Kabuto attempts to use with his limitless infinity. With a near absolute defense, speed, and an attack that utilizes an intense vacuum to crush the body of anyone who's unlucky enough to be caught in it, Naruto has Kabuto outclassed and defeats him. They then manage to push Orochimaru back with this technique, and Orochimaru flees with Kabuto. Tsunade, impressed by Naruto's strength and conviction, decides to return to Konoha with them to become the next Hokage. She heals both Sasuke and Kakashi and takes up the mantle of Hokage. However, during this time, Sasuke is visited by the Sound Four, who make him promises of power and strength in ways that Sasuke could only dream of. They offer him the same kind of power they have, and Sasuke accepts. They brand him with the Cursed Seal of Heaven and give him medication to speed along his awakening. However, this gets out and Sakura tells everyone that Sasuke's left the village. She begs Naruto to bring him back and Naruto promises that he will. He rushes off with the Sasuke recovery unit and chases down the rogue Uchiha and the Sound Four. Along the way, the Sound Four break off to target the pursuing Konoha forces, and Kimimaro even shows up to put a stop to their advances. However, Rock Lee and Gaara appear to give Naruto a chance to sneak past. Naruto does so and catches up with Sasuke at the Valley of the End. There, Naruto demands that Sasuke stop running and return to the village. Sasuke refuses this, telling Naruto that he needs the power. "Do you know what I see?" Sasuke asks. "I see everyone around me developing new techniques and powers, and I'm not getting any stronger." Naruto listens silently as Sasuke continues. "You can fly now, Naruto. You manipulate space around you to do whatever you want. You think you're untouchable, and so far no one's been able to touch you. And now you've even learned how to turn this into an attack. I wish I had powers like that, but I don't. I wasn't born naturally blessed like you. I have to fight for my strength like a dirty dog in the streets. Well, if that's what I need to do, then it's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to Orochimaru. I will take the power that belongs to me, and I will kill Orochimaru for it." Naruto grimaces. "You know he's just gonna take your body, don't you? What does Orochimaru gain from this, Sasuke?" Sasuke smiles. "Don't you worry about that." He activates his curse mark. "I'm going to Orochimaru, and I'm not gonna let you stop me." Sasuke rushes at Naruto, who blocks the attack with infinity. Naruto would try to push him back with Lapse Blue. "I don't want to hurt you, Sasuke. Why are you making me do this?" "I'm not making you do anything, Naruto," he shouts back. "You're the one forcing me to do things I don't want to do." Naruto and Sasuke continue to clash, and each time Sasuke fails to get through infinity. However, unlike last time, Naruto manages to catch Sasuke with Lapse Blue. "Dumbass! You utter dumbass! If you don't come back willingly, then I'll drag your broken body back. I may have promised to return you to the village, but I never promised that you'd be in good condition when I did." Naruto begins to crush Sasuke. But before he could finish, Sasuke suddenly entered his second stage with a flare of chakra. This broke Naruto's hold on him. Sasuke then rushed Naruto with his fists out. Naruto activated Limitless again, but to his surprise, Sasuke managed to break through it. His speed had exceeded the speed of Naruto's division, and thus allowed Sasuke to strike Naruto in the chest, knocking the wind out of him. Sasuke knew that he had just stunned Naruto. He knew he needed to do as much damage to him as possible before he recovered if he planned to win, and so he punched Naruto in the face, causing him to skid along the face of the water. Sasuke would rush over and grip Naruto by the skull, flying along the rock face of the valley, smashing Naruto into it and dragging him across it. He would then fly into the air and throw Naruto down to the ground as hard as he could. Naruto hit the ground, causing a crater, and Sasuke then dive-bombed him, dropping down on his stomach with as much force as he could muster. He then kicked Naruto along the surface of the water. Seeing Naruto just floating there, Sasuke knew he had beaten him. "So much for your absolute defense," he said. He then flared his wings and flew off. It didn't take much longer for Kakashi to find Naruto. He lifted him up into his arms and saw how broken and battered he was. He then looked up into the sky as it was starting to rain. Sasuke. Elsewhere, Sasuke flew all the way to Otogakure, where Orochimaru's current location was. Sasuke stepped in and was greeted by Kabuto, who led him to Orochimaru. Orochimaru offered him the most flowery welcome one could imagine, but Sasuke brushed it aside to speak. "I've come for strength, but I'm not letting you take my body. I know you want to." Orochimaru raised a brow at him as he spoke. Sasuke continued, "However, I have a vessel far better for you to inhabit, one that possesses powers and techniques beyond that of even the Sharingan, one I'll be willing to provide in exchange for all the strength you can give me." Orochimaru sat forward. "I'm listening." Sasuke smiled. "I'll give you Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto was standing under a waterfall, being pounded by the gallons of swift-flowing water. "Concentrate, Naruto," Jiraiya told him. "Focus and control are the cornerstones of your training with me. You've got more chakra than most Jonin, more chakra than even me, and that's before we count the Nine Tails. So building up your chakra well is in no way a priority right now. What is priority is teaching you how to properly wield this power, how to hone it, focus it. All your strength relies upon finding a proper harness, so focus." Naruto continued to focus hard. The water pelted his body. As he opened his eyes for a moment, Naruto could see everything. He could see every droplet of water as he fell. He could see every pore on Jiraiya's face. He could witness the little bird sleeping in the nest nearly a mile away. And all of this he witnessed in high def. It wasn't like he was straining to see. If anything, his mind was straining to contain the information that was being poured into it. Sensory overload. It was mind-numbing. If anyone, for even a moment, could take in the same volume of information as he was at this moment, there's no doubt that their mind would fray and leave them in a vegetative state. But it seemed that world was his and his alone. It would always remain as a personal domain within him, right? Naruto considered deeply the concepts of yin and yang release, on the way ninjutsu and jujutsu as he and Jiraiya had come to know them, how they seemed to alter reality with the user's own energy. Physical energy, spiritual energy, negative energy, positive energy, genjutsu that could become reality. He wondered, could I, even for a fraction of a second, bring someone into my own world, my own domain? And if I did, what would happen to them? He thought deeply on these things as he trained with Jiraiya. Jiraiya nodded to him and beckoned him over. Naruto pulled out from under the waterfall. Jiraiya tossed his student a towel. "Very good. Your chakra control is growing more and more honed." "And what of my cursed energy control?" Jiraiya shook his head. "I'm not sure. To be honest, I can't sense that like you can." The two began to walk home together. They had been training for over 2 years, and Naruto had grown quite a bit. It was becoming clear that there was painfully little that Jiraiya had left to teach his student. "But you said it controls like chakra, right?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto nodded. "Almost exactly like it." Jiraiya opened the door to their shared abode and stepped in. "Well, I would consider using the same concepts. Don't think of chakra and cursed energy as separate things, but as an extension of yourself. Proper physical and emotional control will help you hone your abilities to a fine point. It will allow you to do more than you currently can. You just need to practice with it. Considering what you already have and what you could develop, I would be of the mind to believe that you could be the single most powerful shinobi in the world with these techniques, if you managed to develop them more." Naruto listened to what he had been told. Sitting down for something to eat, Jiraiya spoke to him honestly. "The thing often overlooked by those who train at such a young age is that volume isn't always what you need to increase. You'll only tire yourself faster that way. Control allows you to get more bang for your buck. It's a way to increase the potency and number of times you can use a technique without needing to nearly kill yourself to get more chakra." Naruto thought about it. "Pervy Sage." Jiraiya looked up from his plate. "Why am I different?" Jiraiya cocked his head and let Naruto continue. "I have these strange eyes and an ability that even the Nine Tails didn't know about. Where did I get it from? What makes me special?" Jiraiya shook his head. "You're asking the wrong Toad Sage." Naruto halfway rolled his eyes in disappointment, not because Jiraiya had in any way upset him, but because he wanted to know how he got these powers and why nobody else had them. Jiraiya took a sigh to clear his head and began to pull from wisdom he had stored for just such an occasion. Naruto, you aren't the only person to have abilities no one could explain. For instance, the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, goes on the shinobi records as the only person to have ever made use of wood release, a type of ninjutsu to have never been recorded since we began writing books, and to never be used again naturally without genetic manipulation. And his healing factor was one of the best in the world. He was nearly immortal, he healed so fast. It was even rumored that he had starfish regeneration. Naruto cocked his head. Starfish regeneration? Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, it was said that if you removed Lord First's arm, he would regrow it, but even more that the severed arm would grow a new Hashirama as well. Just like a starfish. Nobody ever explained how he got this power, where it came from, or why nobody in his line, past, present, or future had awakened it. All we know is that he had it. We assumed it to be a positive mutation specific to him that just so happened to make him very strong. As for you, I assume the same. It's not where your power comes from that matters all that much, but instead, what you do with that power that makes a difference. So tell me, Naruto, what are you gonna do with this power? I'm gonna save Sasuke, and I'm gonna protect the leaf. Jiraiya smiled. Then that's the only answer you need to focus on. After this, both decided to go to bed. It was getting late, and both of them were tired from a strenuous day of training. The next day, however, Jiraiya didn't bother waking up Naruto. He decided to let his students sleep. You see, Jiraiya had business that he had to take care of in a foreign land that he thought was best to be done alone. Something he had to check out in regards to a group known as the Akatsuki, the same group that had attacked Naruto earlier. He had told Naruto that he was free to do whatever he pleased during his time away, but that if he wanted to train more with his techniques, he should focus on control and try to stay away from version 2. As it stood, it was best not to mess with that after the last fiasco. And so Jiraiya left. Naruto was drooling into his pillow until about 30 minutes away from noon, where he got up and grabbed breakfast, or brunch as it was now. He would indeed get to work on training. He had been working on a new technique. He had been trying to control his cursed energy, which led him to attempting to reverse the polarity and form Yang Curse energy, as he called it, in hopes that it would do something new. The only way he could think of to do that, though, was to take the negative and make it positive. How? Well, 2 odds make an even, and 2 wrongs make a right, so he merely doubled his negative energy and ran it together, and managed to make positive energy. Now, Naruto was no physicist, but this was logical. As an author's side note, I'm not a physicist either, but I'm pretty sure the Hadron Collider does something similar to this to make antiparticles. Just smash crap together until something happens. That's Naruto logic here, and through trial and error, he eventually manages to actually create something positive. He begins to fire it off in the same way he would his lapis blue. Raising his fingers as if he's planning to do a ninjutsu, he formed another singularity on the tip of his finger, but when he launched it, it caused a concussive blast as opposed to a magnetic pull. And even more so, the blast was twice as strong. At least, Naruto assumed this because he was merely doubling his energy and smashing it together. Probably energy conservation or something really smart sounding that he was hoping to repeat to impress you. There was clapping behind him. Naruto turned around quickly and noticed Kakashi Hatake standing there. "Oh, Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing here?" Kakashi looked around. "I was just watching. It seems that these 2 years of training have really helped you improve." Naruto smiled, blushing slightly at the compliment. "Yeah, I've been working really hard." Naruto then turned around. "Would you like some tea, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi nodded, and so Naruto set them out a place on the picnic table and began to pour 2 steamy cups of tea. Sitting down, Naruto began to sip. Kakashi did as well, attempting to go straight through his mask, succeeding in only spilling it on his shirt. Delicious. Naruto smiled and looked away to keep his composure. "So what brings you here? Just a friendly visit?" Kakashi shook his head. "As nice as it would have been just to visit and see your progress, I've actually come with intel." Naruto sat forward. "You don't mean..." Kakashi nodded. "Yes, intel on Sasuke." Naruto listened closely. Kakashi began to explain. "There's a hidden base not too far from here. See here in the Land of Grass?" Naruto looked. "Oh, I know that place. That's where Pervy Sage gets his special cigarettes." Kakashi looked up. Yes, the Land of Grass is known as the top seller of special cigarettes. That's how it got its name." Anyway, near the Tenchi Bridge, there's a secret base where Orochimaru is said to be located. According to our intel, Sasuke's there too. We're going to send you in. Naruto looked at it for a moment. Why send me? Aren't there better shinobi for the job? Kakashi began to sweat a little. Yes, but I know you made that promise and that your Nindo is to make good on your promises, so as a special favor, I asked to get you sent. Naruto laughed happily. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. When do I leave? Whenever you're ready, Kakashi said. Naruto smiled. I'll go get my stuff. Kakashi smiled. Good. You do that. I'll see my way out. Kakashi then left. Once he was behind cover, he went up in a puff of smoke as his form shifted back to his original one, that of Kabuto. Kabuto sighed. That could have gone way better. I'm just lucky that he's as gullible as he is stupid. He would then contact Orochimaru. Master, it seems that he's taking the bait. He should be there soon. Naruto would be carrying his backpack. He left a note for Jiraiya should his mentor return before him. He told of the special mission given to him by Kakashi and how he had gone to check it out. Currently, he stood upon the Tenchi Bridge. He looked down at his map. It shouldn't be far from here, he said to himself as he continued trekking his way through the forests of the Land of Grass. He would eventually find the base as described by Kakashi and shown on the map. He scouted the place with his 6 eyes, attempting to see any traps or guards. He found none. That's strange. This place is completely unguarded, he said as he looked it over. He would then shrug. I guess they don't expect it to be found. He would then jump down from the treetops and begin to make his way through. There were a few small traps, all of which were tokens Orochimaru had laid out. Sasuke had told him that Naruto was not the sharpest crayon in the box, but despite this, Orochimaru planned to at least plant a few traps in hopes of not looking suspicious. Naruto, of course, made it past these traps due to his 6 eyes. As he made his way in, he would follow the chakra signatures that he sensed. This led him to a chamber. It was large and open. Behind him, the door closed on its own and was then covered by a Fuinjutsu seal. Naruto was locked in, and even if he attempted to break through the door that had closed, the seal would bounce him off. There was no going back. Slowly, lanterns around the room began to activate. He turned around to see someone waiting there for him. You thought it would be such a simple in-and-out mission? A heavy-set yet muscular man said. Naruto looked back. Who are you? The man stood from his kneeling position. I am Jirobo of the Sound 4. I've been sent to deliver you to Lord Orochimaru. Don't worry, I've been instructed to bring you in alive. Jirobo smirked. But Lord Orochimaru never said it had to be in perfect condition. Naruto stood there and sighed. I don't know what Orochimaru or Sasuke thinks is gonna happen, but I've grown stronger. The only thing they sent you to do was die. Please stand aside, and if you do, I promise I won't touch a single hair on your head. Jirobo laughed a little. As if you could do anything to harm me. He activated his Curse Seal's first stage, which spread across his body. Naruto sighed and dropped his backpack. The only thing you'll succeed in doing is slowing me down, but only momentarily. Jirobo sneered and then launched himself at Naruto, who proceeded to cross his arms and wait for the attack. Jirobo would rush in, using his incredible strength and taijutsu prowess to strike out at Naruto. However, as he did this, his fists would seem to slow to a halt, stopping right before his face. Naruto not even flinching. Naruto would suddenly kick Jirobo in the stomach, knocking him back. You can't even touch me, let alone kill me. This is your final warning. Stop the fight and take me to Sasuke now, and I won't hurt you. Jirobo snarled as he came back in again. He began punching and kicking at Naruto, but none of his attacks seemed to connect. Suddenly, Naruto decided to take the attack to him. Just from looking into Naruto's eyes, Jirobo would quickly back away. Naruto's attack never came. The member of the Sound 4 looked down at his own hand to see that it was trembling. He looked back up at Naruto and clenched his fist so tightly that his hand began to bleed. Jirobo would suddenly take on his full transformation, his Stage 2 Curse Seal. He would rush Naruto again, striking out as hard as he could. Is this really all you have? Naruto asked. Just taijutsu? It'll never get close to me. Jirobo would then back up and utilize his Earth Release to form boulders and throw them at Naruto. Naruto would simply raise his hand and split the boulders down the middle. Naruto began to grow closer to Jirobo. If that's really all you have, then there's no real reason for me to be here any longer. Jirobo began to panic. He then decided to make use of his ultimate technique. Earth Release Barrier. Earth Prison Dome of Magnificent Nothingness. He would form a dome around Naruto. I don't need to strike you to kill you. I just need to keep you inside of this dome. Naruto was enshrouded in darkness. He looked around. He walked to the edge of the dome and struck it. It left a crack, but the crack seemed to heal. Oh, "Now this is a better technique. Why didn't you start with this?" he asked from the inside. Naruto suddenly felt himself growing steadily weaker. Not only was he trapped, but he was being drained of his chakra. "A very impressive technique. Sadly, it's not one that can stop me." Naruto looked around the dome and used his 6 eyes to determine that the wall was thinnest at the back opposite of Jirobo. Naruto raised his hand and formed the Singularity for Curse Reversal technique red and launched it at the end of the dome, causing the entire thing to erupt and fall to pieces. Jirobo was stunned that such destructive power could be found in one such as him. He didn't have any more time to think though, as immediately Naruto formed another curse reversal and fired it at Jirobo point blank, completely blowing him to pieces. "Don't say you weren't warned." Naruto grabbed his backpack and stepped through the door on the other side of the room. There he was met with Kidomaru. Kidomaru stood from a kneeling position just as Jirobo had. "I commend you on making it past Jirobo. A true feat. But all the same, he was the weakest of us. Jirobo relied too heavily on brute strength and found himself easily outmatched by people who knew greater ninjutsu." Naruto simply looked at him coldly. He looked around the room and spoke. "I offer you the same I offered Jirobo. Get out of my way and I won't harm you. Stand against me and you're gonna die." Kidomaru couldn't help but feel slightly intimidated by this, but there was no point in dwelling on these feelings. He knew that the only real choice was to fight and win, because if he failed to beat Naruto, he would be killed. If he ran away, Orochimaru would have him executed for cowardice. Kidomaru's only choice was to attack him, and that's exactly what he did. He would use his sticky gold technique to form a spear and begin testing Naruto's defenses, even going so far as to stab at him. The blade never made contact. Kidomaru immediately retreated and threw away the spear without even a retaliation from Naruto. "I see, so that won't work. No matter." Kidomaru began to form a bow out of his gold and began to prepare it against Naruto. He would place an arrow on the drawstring before pulling back. He would fire, letting the arrow fly. The arrow would stop right in front of Naruto, who would sigh. "Can I go now?" Kidomaru gulped, realizing why Jirobo lost, but no matter, he simply needed to outsmart him. He put another arrow on the bow and began to pull the string back, using more arms and creating more tension in the string. Letting it go, the arrow flew so hard and fast that it seemed like it might break the sound barrier, but it too stopped. "Impossible," Kidomaru said. Naruto clicked his tongue. "Guess you were a disappointment as well." Kidomaru wiped the sweat from his brow. "Not yet! I'm not finished yet!" He removed his headband and revealed his third eye. "Now I can see your chakra." He gazed at him and found no chakra blocking these attacks, which confused him. No way. He would attempt to throw a web on him, but it too stopped. Kidomaru then attempted to summon the Kyodaigomo to deal with Naruto, but no matter how many spiders he summoned or how much web they threw at him, he couldn't stop him. Naruto would raise his finger and create a cursed technique lapse blue to suck up the webs and spiders, condensing them all into a single ball of mangled legs and webbing. He would throw the orb at Kidomaru, who would dodge it. Suddenly, the arrows caught in Naruto's infinity were repelled as well, striking Kidomaru and pinning him to the wall. Kidomaru let out a cry of pain before he too perished. Walking into the next room, he found another fighting chamber. He sighed. "This is getting old." Inside, he found a girl. She stood there against him, clutching her flute. He looked at her. "You know, I really don't want to fight a girl, but if you don't get out of the way, you're gonna end up like those schmucks back there." He pointed behind him with his thumb. "Get out of the way and see tomorrow's sunrise." She shook her head with a smile. "No, you see, I'm not like the others." "You'd better hope not," Naruto said. It was then that Toyuya summoned her Doki. She would use her Doki to command Naruto to be attacked. The Doki would launch at him, ready to bring their weapons down upon him, but those weapons came to a stop. It was as if Naruto had an invisible dome about him. She would command the Doki to attempt to use their Revolt of the Demon World attack, which would cause them to spawn translucent multi-mouthed worms. These worms would attack Naruto as well, though he would simply deny them his touch with the infinity. Toyuya smiled. "I see you can't be touched under most circumstances," she said. "Let's try this on for size." She would then begin to play her flute again. Demon flute, phantom sound chains. She would begin to play a song and Naruto would hear it. Suddenly, he was unable to move. He felt as if his Limitless had been turned against him, and that all the infinite space he had placed between himself and the Doki were forced upon him, leaving him unable to budge. Suddenly, cuts opened up on his body that began to bleed. Naruto was stunned. How could she? Suddenly, he felt as if he had been thrown across the room. He felt pain all over his body and his chakra grew weaker. Crap, what is she doing? He wondered. There's no way that this is true. Nobody but me controls my Limitless. Nobody. It was then that Kurama woke up and dispelled the genjutsu. Naruto was questioning about this. Kurama would smile. I'm still curious about your abilities, and I'm not ready to die along with my vessel. Naruto managed to wake up. He shook his head and found that he'd been smashed into the wall by the doki. He stood and would then draw closer to them. He would command his Limitless to make an infinite space between two portions of each doki, from its chest to its legs. He made space there infinite, causing the doki to explode from the inside, tearing them in two. He slowly approached Toyuya, who attempted her flute once again to no avail. Naruto spoke. I'm gonna be honest here, you almost got me. If it hadn't been for the Nine Tails awakening me, I would have died. Sadly though, you didn't account for that when you decided to attack me, and now you've got to pay for it. He would then use Curse Technique Lapse Blue to pull her into the Singularity, boosting its power with his chakra, crushing her completely. After this, he would make his way into the next room. There, he would find another waiting for him. Greetings, my name is Sakon, he told Naruto. If you've made it this far, then I commend you, but you will not survive past this point. Naruto scoffed. I've heard that before. You'd better hope that you've got some space-time bending jutsu, otherwise you'll end up like the rest. Sakon smiled. I won't need it. He began attacking Naruto using taijutsu. Naruto rolled his head on his neck. Not this again, he sighed. You're a disappointment. The girl in the last room should have been in here. At least she would have managed to put up a fight. He pushed Sakon back and began to approach him. Time to finish this and collect Sasuke. Suddenly, from behind, Naruto was grabbed. What? He looked back and noticed Ukon. How long had he been here? It's now over, Sakon said. No fair. 2 against 1 is cheating. Who said that we were separate people? Ukon asked. If 2 minds share a single body, does that count as 2 separate people? Or 1 person with 2 souls? Naruto was confused by this and asked for elaboration. Oh, you wish to understand what I mean? Allow me to show you. Suddenly, Ukon would meld inside of Naruto. Naruto cried out as he fell to the floor. He sat there in pain, hardly able to move as he felt Ukon completely merging with him. That was when Naruto realized this. Wait, there's no way that I can hurt him without hurting myself. Naruto would form a Lapse Blue and suck himself into it, allowing the attack to crush and mangle his body. Ukon cried out as he pulled away from Naruto's body. He would try to make his way towards Sakon to merge with him in hopes of healing. However, Naruto utilized his infinity to keep all 3 separate from each other. Naruto then proceeded to utilize reverse curse energy to heal himself. That, on top of Kurama's chakra, had Naruto healed up quickly. After returning to his full strength, he would then turn to Sakon, who was starting to pull back. Naruto would raise his hand and fire a curse reverse technique right at him, pushing him back against the wall and crushing the life from him. Sakon would hit the ground and perish as Naruto popped his neck. I can't believe that worked. What a gamble. This Limitless stuff really is broken. He looked over at Ukon, who was on the ground, crying, looking at his dead brother. He looked up at Naruto with tears in his eyes. Please, I don't want to die. Naruto looked back at Sakon, who had perished. Ukon had no way to heal himself, and he was in immense pain. Naruto looked back on him and felt a conflict within his heart. Naruto sighed and walked over to Ukon. He knelt down to him. Ukon looked up at Naruto with eyes full of terror, his body broken and shattered. Naruto was moved with compassion and reached out. Placing his hand upon him, he would begin to flood Ukon's body with the same reverse curse energy he had used to heal himself, and repaired Ukon's body enough to survive, but not enough to make him a threat any further. Your shinobi career's over. When I'm done here, you will leave and never return again. Go make a life for yourself and leave the darkness behind. Ukon was moved to tears by Naruto's kindness. I promise, Ukon shouted. After this, Naruto stood. I expect you to keep this promise. He then walked to the door as it opened up. He passed through. He would suddenly hear the sound of Ukon's screams on the other side, and they'd come to an abrupt stop. Naruto grit his teeth. He looked up and saw a security camera watching him. He raised a finger and blasted it with his curse reverse red. He began to make his way further until he reached Orochimaru's throne room. There, sitting upon the throne, was Orochimaru himself. Beside him is Sasuke, who stands, ready to watch. Naruto looks to Orochimaru. If you think I'm gonna forgive you for anything, you're sorely mistaken. Orochimaru smiled as he leaned his head against his fist. And what makes you think I want to be forgiven by you? Naruto stood there silently for a moment. Don't you worry, but by the end of this, you'll be begging me to forgive you. Orochimaru laughs. You have unique abilities. I'll give you that. But do not believe yourself to be untouchable or indestructible. Orochimaru stood. What you just passed through was merely a test.
and experiment to gather information on your techniques. And now, I believe I've seen enough to counter your every move." Naruto would form shadow clones that would then attack Orochimaru, only to be cut down by the blade of Kusanagi. Orochimaru would perform hand signs and fire a flame at Naruto, which would seemingly stop before the heat even touched his skin. Naruto, in return, would fire a curse reversal red at Orochimaru, only for Orochimaru to shed his skin and form a new body from his mouth with a snake's tail. This gave Orochimaru greater speed. Orochimaru would then turn around and utilize his sound wave technique to blow Naruto back. Naruto had not expected Orochimaru to use a concussive blast as strong as that. He picked himself up and shook it off. Suddenly, Orochimaru utilized his temporary paralysis jutsu to stop Naruto in his place. Unable to move or continue his jujutsu, Orochimaru would approach Naruto with as much speed as possible, grabbing him by the face. He looked into Naruto's eyes. Very beautiful eyes. Eyes that make even a Byakugan seem weak. And they possess no chakra drain, I hear. That means I can easily take them for myself. He would smash Naruto into a wall and throw him back toward the center of the room. Naruto would manage to stand and he'd fire off a lapse blue, hopefully to pull Orochimaru in and crush him. Orochimaru would utilize his hiding and surface technique and meld into the floor. When the technique dissipated, Orochimaru was gone. Naruto looked around. Suddenly he felt his ankles grabbed. He would hold tight to Naruto and spit acid at him, paralyzing Naruto. Orochimaru would then take his snake form and slowly rise up. He looked into Naruto's eyes. Such eyes that can see everything. Soon they will be mine. And at that time, I will be one step closer to witnessing everything, to possessing all of the knowledge in the world. Naruto looked at him. Knowledge? You want knowledge? You want to witness all of the information I'm cursed to witness every day? Then take it. In that moment, a blackness expanded around them. Naruto had done it. His domain expansion, unlimited void. From here, Naruto began to flood Orochimaru's mind with an infinite flow of information. Orochimaru's snake eyes widened as he saw it all coming at him. He would stand there and look at the snake. He would then hold out his hand and charge a massive curse reversal red and fire it at Orochimaru, completely eradicating his body. And with that, Naruto would end the technique. He would turn around and look to Sasuke. It's over. Orochimaru's dead. Come back with us to the Leaf. You've been missed. Please. Sasuke stood there. The fact that you could do that so easily, and I had not even come to the point where I was confident I could beat Orochimaru is proof that I am not yet ready to face my brother, he said. He turned and walked toward a door. Naruto reached out. Wait, Sasuke looked back. I will return to the Leaf. One day, but not now. Not until I kill Itachi. He would then leave the building. Naruto was left there, alone. He stood there and caught his breath. Damn it. He would then make his way to the communications room where he would send a message to Konoha. Hello, is Kakashi-sensei there? He asked over the radio. After receiving his answer, he spoke. I can wait. Quite some time passed, but eventually Kakashi came over the radio. Naruto, what's going on? I finished that mission you gave me, Naruto said. What mission? Kakashi asked. You know, that one, where you sent me after Sasuke to kill Orochimaru? There was radio silence for a moment. Naruto, I never gave you such an order. What? Naruto thought about it. He then realized that it was planned to be a trap this whole time. Oh, well, never mind. Still, I managed to locate Sasuke and Orochimaru. I killed Orochimaru, but Sasuke escaped. You killed Orochimaru? Kakashi asked in surprise. What kind of training does Jiraiya have you doing over there? Naruto laughed a bit. Where are you? Kakashi asked. Naruto would look at his map and call out the coordinates. Kakashi would tell him that he would send some people to check it out and that he was free to go home. Naruto would thank Kakashi and end the transmission. He then made his way out of the hidden base and back to Jiraiya's home. He would reach the porch and just collapse onto his back. He blinked a few times and fell asleep right then and there. As the sun rose, however, Naruto could feel something kicking his foot. He would open his eyes to see Jiraiya standing atop him. Jiraiya looked down at his student with a little concern. What in the world happened to you? Naruto laughed a little and then sighed. It's a long story. Jiraiya would step over him. I bet. You can tell me over breakfast, I suppose. The gates of Konoha were a welcome sight. Despite the bad memories that Naruto possessed and all the suffering he had experienced beyond this gate, there was a sense of nostalgia that echoed in his head as he saw it. A certain peace, a joy at finally being home. Despite that, there was a touch of sadness in his heart, as if he had just left home. He looked up at Jiraiya, who said nothing, but continued walking toward the gate. mentor and student, a bond that had developed into father and son, Jiraiya becoming everything that Minato and Kushina had hoped for him to become, Naruto's first real familial bond. But all things eventually came to an end. Naruto had grown strong during his time training with Jiraiya, and though he'd been unable to master the version 2 Tailed Beast cloak, he had been able to fully master version 1, which was still a power boost that most shinobi could never achieve. Given that, on top of the Limitless technique, Naruto's abilities had been bolstered so high that very few could match up to him anymore. He was as strong as even the legendary Sannin. Perhaps not as smart or as wise, but his abilities had gifted him the same, if not greater potential, which promised to make him into a legend one day, and possibly, hopefully, even Hokage. Upon returning to the village, Naruto would be brought to his jonin, Kakashi, where he and Kakashi would embrace. Kakashi was truly amazed at how big Naruto had grown in the 2.5 years they had been apart. But that being said, he had expected him to be bigger by the time they met, as he had the pleasure of continuing to train with Sakura, who herself had grown taller and stronger. Speaking of Sakura, she came around the corner and smiled, her eyes widening with excitement when she saw Naruto. She ran over and embraced him. "Naruto, you're home," she said with a smile. Naruto smiled, but it slowly faded into disappointment and guilt. "I'm sorry I'm the only one," he said. "I'd hoped to return to the village, Sasuke in tow, but he refused to come back." Sakura's smile grew slightly more melancholic, although it did remain. "That's fine. Sasuke can return in his own time." "All the same, we've got our eyes out for him," Kakashi interjected. "The village is keeping their ears to the ground. Should he make any moves, we'll know, and we'll be after him." Naruto smirked slightly. He felt conflicted. Killing Itachi had always been Sasuke's dream, his main goal, but Naruto had always felt conflicted about the dream. It just didn't seem right for Sasuke to base his entire life around the goal of ending someone else's life. Despite this, he had always respected Sasuke's decisions, even if he disagreed. But all the same, he had a bad feeling in his heart. "I'm glad to be home." The three of them would get a meal together to celebrate. They had invited Jiraiya, but the old Toad Sage had refused, saying that he needed to begin briefing and debriefing with Tsunade, and told them to have fun without him. And that is what the three did. They ate their meals and sang a few songs at karaoke. Why? Well, Kakashi had ordered 3 bottles of sake for himself. Definitely for himself and nobody else. The night had been so much fun. However, the morning was hell. A migraine to beat all migraines. Naruto scrubbed up in the shower and threw on a fresh set of clothes. Grabbing his gear and a set of ibuprofen, he made his way out. He was now wearing blacked out glasses on top of his sash-covered face to further limit his vision in hopes that he didn't have to see so much of the sun's dreadful light while his body recovered. Moving to meet with Kakashi, Naruto found himself leaning against a pole. Sakura seemed to be chipper as ever, a smile on her face. "Good morning, Kakashi-sensei," she said with a grin. "Good morning, Sakura," Kakashi said. He then looked to Naruto. "Good morning, Naruto." Naruto tried to fight the urge to gag. "Good morning." Kakashi smiled awkwardly, a bead of sweat forming on his only visible cheek. "What's on today's itinerary?" Sakura asked. "We've been called in by Lady Fifth for an important mission. We're to meet her as soon as possible." Sakura gave 2 thumbs up while Naruto slowly bobbed his head, either as approval or perhaps simply because he was disappointed. Maybe both. And so Kakashi began to lead them to the Hokage's office, where Tsunade was waiting. She was in the middle of doing some paperwork, her face clearly displaying that she really wished she had not taken the job. Team 7 stood silently in the room for the span of 3 minutes before Tsunade finally put down her pen and sat back in her chair with a sigh. "Seems like the job's really getting to you," Kakashi said. Her eyes opened and looked down the bridge of her nose at Kakashi. "It's on days like this that I wish I'd just been killed by Orochimaru." "You called for us," Kakashi said, switching to a more serious question. "Indeed I did," she said, sitting forward in her chair. "As you know, Konoha has not been on good terms with Suna since the incident during the Chunin exams, which resulted in the deaths of both the Hokage and Kazekage at the hands of Orochimaru. Ever since, we've been on a hair trigger with them. At least it was that way until their new Kazekage was brought into the mix. Their new Kage began to treat Konoha with kindness." "Who is their new Kazekage?" Sakura asked. "I'm glad you asked," Tsunade said. "Believe it or not, it's that Gaara kid. I don't know why or how, but he turned over a new leaf and has been ruling the nation with benevolence and love." "I see," Naruto said. "Gaara really did have a heart after all. But this begs the question, why have you brought us here?" Tsunade would tap the side of her nose in Naruto's direction to tell Naruto he was spot on with his observation. Gaara has recently been kidnapped. Suna's been fighting to get him back to no avail. If Gaara dies, then a new Kazekage will be elected, and if that Kazekage does not bear the same ideals and convictions as Gaara, well, that would be bad for us. So in rescuing him, we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The team was beginning to understand the goal. I have a question though, Sakura said. Tsunade turned her attention toward her apprentice. Yes? If the forces of Suna couldn't track their own Kage through their own country, what hope do we have of doing so? Tsunade smiled. A good question, my apprentice. But the fact is, I never said that Suna did not know where Gaara was, only that they couldn't get him back. And even if they only have a general direction to point you in, we have one thing that Suna doesn't. A Jinchuriki. We'll use our tailed beast to find their tailed beast. And once we have, we'll strike and take him back. After the briefing, the team began to pack and make preparations for the mission. Traveling the endless dunes of the Land of Wind, Suna would slowly come into sight. There they would find Gaara's siblings, Temari and Kankuro, the later of which being gravely ill with a potent poison. After Sakura heals his wounds, they speak with them, inquiring where they might find Gaara. They were pointed in a particular direction. There, Naruto and the others would travel until Naruto seemed to feel the closeness of a familiar presence. Picking up the pace, they would trek until they were stopped by a pair of Akatsuki members, 2 very familiar ones to Naruto, Itachi and Kisame, or at least that's what they believed. In actuality, these were but clones of them, and Naruto's Limitless made short work. Knowing that they must be getting close, they picked up the pace, moving at basically a running pace to ensure that they could get there before the enemy could escape. Finding a cave protected by a barrier, they would manage to bring it down. Entering inside, they discovered Sasori and Deidara, along with what appeared to be the corpse of Gaara. The 2 Akatsuki members would attempt to escape, with Sasori hoping to stay behind to slow the enemy down. However, the group splits up. Sakura and Chiyo, the woman who had originally been the one to seal the One Tail into Gaara, stay behind to face Sasori, as Kakashi and Naruto chase after Deidara. Deidara begins to attempt to fly away with his target. However, as he does so, Naruto manages to teleport up to him using his Curse Lapse Blue technique, striking Deidara so hard with his movements that not only does Deidara end up flung from his clay bird, but the bird begins to fall as well. Naruto latches onto Gaara's body and teleport back to the ground. He lays Gaara out and checks on him only to find that Gaara is already dead. Naruto begins to tear up a little before that sorrow slowly turns to indignation. Naruto stands and begins to walk toward Deidara. Deidara attempts to stop him using explosives, but the technique slows the blasts and fire and shrapnel to an insanely slow speed to the point that it never reaches Naruto. Like explosions, do ya? Naruto says as he looks down at Deidara. Enjoy this one. He fires a curse reversal red at Deidara at point blank, completely annihilating his body. With Deidara finished, Naruto would turn back and return to Gaara. He then makes it back to the cave with Kakashi and reaches the point where he finds that Sakura and Chiyo have already managed to kill Sasori. Naruto lays Gaara down on the ground. His anger boils over as he realizes that they were after his tailed beast the whole time. Not only was the anger at Gaara's fate spilling out, but his own anger at having been forced to become a Jinchuriki. What did we do to deserve this? Naruto asked. Why did we need to sacrifice our bodies for this? And worse still, why are you all so ungrateful to us? Gaara's first 12 years of life were hell, and so were mine. If we're heroes of the village, then why do people treat us like garbage? His words cut Chiyo deep, and realizing the error of her ways, she proceeded to use her own technique, one's own life technique, to manage to revive Gaara at the cost of her own life. They return to Konoha triumphant, all while Naruto can't help but think about Chiyo's sacrifice and what it meant. He thought back to Iruka and the others as well, to Hiruzen and even to his own parents. Not everyone involved were hateful and spiteful. No, many of them had done what they had to do, and many of them had suffered because of it. Naruto was suffering because of his need to protect his village, to sacrifice oneself for their village. Was that what it meant to be a shinobi? Was that the will of fire? Returning to Konoha, they reported to Tsunade about what had happened and how the One Tail had been stolen by this group, the Akatsuki. Tsunade makes their capture and or termination high priority and begins to instruct various Konoha teams to keep their eyes open for any sign and to defeat them if possible. Search and destroy. All the while, Kakashi had found Naruto's abilities to be rather incredible. He knew that Naruto had always been gifted with a strange Kekkei Genkai, but only now does he realize how truly powerful it is. He wishes to see how strong it will become, so he sets Naruto to the side and asks him to begin developing a new technique with it. Naruto's unsure what to do about this, so he sits down and begins to brainstorm. He thinks about his curse technique. He's really pulled out as much from it as he thought possible. Considering that it's his greatest technique, to be able to develop something new for it would be optimal, but how exactly? What could he do to make a new technique? He recalls when he discovered Reverse Curse Technique Red. how he multiplied the curse energy by itself to make reverse cursed energy. He holds out his hand and creates a lapse blue and looks at it. In the other hand, he creates a reverse red. He looks at them and begins to wonder. One pushes, one pulls, but what happens if I use them together? Is it even possible to use them together? In truth, it was. It was quite possible. And so he began to train for this and managed to train for quite some time to learn this technique. At the end, he had developed a new technique. He would rush out to battle with Kakashi to help them defeat Hidan and Kakuzu. Hidan would be Shikamaru's own personal battle to avenge Asuma, and Naruto would not intrude upon that. But Kakuzu was fair game. The thing was, he possessed multiple hearts, and because of that, he was mostly immortal. Very similar to Hidan, but in a completely different way. Naruto would then prepare to utilize his newest technique. Holding out his hand, he channeled both cursed energy and reverse cursed energy into a single attack, both lapse blue and reverse red. This created a technique called Hollow Purple. Kakashi, who had been studying the techniques Naruto used for a while, observed how it was used. Naruto would fire it at Kakuzu, who would then take the shot and disintegrate, as if never having existed at all. Kakashi was stunned, but his mind was already coming up with theories as to how this worked. And it was a good thing too, because even Naruto didn't know what it did. Essentially, Naruto had used the infinite pushing and pulling power and energy to create an imaginary singularity. It was the same concept, it seemed, as an imaginary number, which was any number equal to or beyond -1. Essentially, Naruto had managed to create an anti-space at the center of his technique. He had not created a new dimension, nor did he manipulate the old one. Instead, he had compressed the dimension down past infinity beyond nothing. Something so non-existent that it became the literal opposite of existence. Even if space was empty, space still contained space, and therefore nothing was still something, even if that something was empty. But true nothing, what Naruto had just made, was nothing without a void. He had, for all intents and purposes, condensed space-time down to such a fine point that not even void remained. Not even nothing remained. And therefore, everything struck by this singularity also ceased to exist. Hence the name he had given it, Hollow Purple. A mixture of red and blue, it contained nothing, not even space, and therefore the technique was completely hollow. It made even the void hollow. Such a nightmare for physicists, of which Kakashi was merely an amateur who couldn't even competently say that this was what it even was. That's my way of saying that I don't really know how it works, and I'm only guessing from a writer's perspective. If I'm totally off the mark, please forgive me, that's just what it seems like to me. Sorta reminds me of tachyons, but I digress. Naruto is confused at his own strength and begins to wonder what he had just done. Kakashi simplifies for him. Essentially, you just erased a man from existence. Naruto is shocked. Erased as in, like, he never existed? Kakashi nodded. Nothing remains of him. Not even a single atom. Naruto was astonished. How busted is that? Naruto asked with a hint of trepidation in his voice. Such a power was terrifying. What if he had screwed this up and accidentally erased himself or someone else? This was by far his strongest technique, and he had even managed to awaken the ability to bring others into his world, his own personal world. He began to wonder if this shouldn't be more like a break glass in case of emergency type technique. With the deaths of Hidan and Kakuzu, well, Hidan's death is more like a live burial, but anyway, everyone got to rest. Naruto finally had time to himself to enjoy himself. Time to sleep long, play games, and do absolutely nothing. But eventually, word came in that Sasuke was on the move, and so was Itachi. It seemed to be the day that Sasuke had dreamed of, and so many teams of shinobi were sent out after them. However, before they could get there and interfere with the fight, Itachi visited Naruto, as he always would in canon, and would give to Naruto his crow that contained the Koro Amatsukami. After that, Naruto would be stopped by Tobi. Tobi told Naruto not to go any further, but Naruto doesn't plan to listen. After all, there was nothing Tobi could do to stop Naruto, right? Naruto tries to push back Obito, but amazingly, Obito reaches his hand out to stop Naruto. Naruto looks startled. Obito looks at him. Are you surprised that someone can break through your techniques? Naruto is stunned. But how? I had the Limitless turned on. Who knows, Tobi said with a smile before quickly shoving Naruto into a nearby tree, something Naruto caught with his infinity before he could be hurt. Naruto had never really found anyone with the capability to make it through his Limitless. He began to run through his head the possible reasons as to why Tobi could do this. Obviously, he was using a technique, but what was it? Was it some space-time jutsu? Was it speed-based? What was the secret? In the end, Toby managed to hold Naruto off long enough for Sasuke to kill Itachi. Toby would escape with Sasuke and would proceed to tell him the truth about Konoha and Itachi's dealings, which led to Sasuke growing resentful toward the village and seeking revenge. Thus, Team 7 and the other scouting teams returned to Konoha. But Naruto would not be allowed to relax, nor would he be allowed to emotionally unwind, as word had come in of dire news. He would be summoned to the Hokage's office, where he noticed that Kakashi and Sakura were already waiting for him. The look on their faces, he knew something bad had happened. Tsunade began to speak. "Naruto, do you remember the day you returned to Konoha from training with Jiraiya?" Naruto nodded. "Yeah? Do you remember that I called Jiraiya into my office?" Naruto once more affirmed. Tsunade continued. "The reason I did was because I needed him to do something. I needed him to check out the rumors I heard that the Akatsuki were based out of Amagi to the west. He accepted the mission and went to investigate, where it seems that he learned who the leader of Akatsuki is. But we can't tell who or what it is. He sent a toad bag with a message inscribed on its back, and we can't read it. We needed you to help us crack the code. Why don't you just wait until Jiraiya comes back? Then you can have him decode it for you, or better yet, just tell you straight." Tsunade sighed and removed her glasses. "That's the thing, Naruto. Jiraiya was killed." Naruto stood there for a moment, trying to process that. He scoffed into a bit of a giggle at first, and then looked at the seriousness of Tsunade's face, and that giggle slowly transformed into a shiver of tears. "No, that can't be true." He looked around the room, seeking validation in his disbelief, but despite this, he found none. Tsunade soon walked over to him and put her hands on his shoulders. "Naruto, I know you're in pain, but Jiraiya died to give us this information. We can't read it without you. Please, just read it to us." They brought Naruto, who could barely talk through his tears, over, and they gave him a piece of paper. Naruto looked at the message and began to write it out. "Amigakure and Akatsuki under control of Pain. Pain is Nagato, a boy I knew long ago, and possesses the Rinnegan, the same eye as the Sage of Six Paths. They seek the nine-tailed beasts." This is all they needed to know. They thanked Naruto for his help. They planned to send him to Mount Myoboku to train, but he didn't appear to be in the right mental state to do so they allowed him time to mourn. Naruto laid in his bed on his side, looking at the picture frame beside his bed. The picture was one of himself and Jiraiya, the only father he'd ever known, and now he was gone. Naruto looked at the moon as it peeked out over the buildings and gave off a soft bluish-green glow to the world below. He looked back on all of his times with Jiraiya, everything they'd ever done together, their training, the laughs, the tears, the good times and bad. It was as if he were looking back on his childhood, even though the two had only known each other for about 3 years. Jiraiya was as close to a father as Naruto had ever had, and was one of the few people to show any love for him at all, and was the only person to show it on such a deep, personal level. And now, he was gone. Naruto wasn't the only one mourning right now. Tsunade sat in the Hokage's office, leaning back in her chair, looking at the same white-blue moon hovering in space above. In her hand was a half-empty bottle of sake, a gift given to her by Jiraiya a long time ago. It was a brand she never cared for much due to the low alcohol content, but right now she was drinking through it. It might have been weak, but that just meant she would have to drink even more of it. She wiped a tear from her face as she realized she was the last one remaining. She had known death and loss for many years. Dawn, Nowaki, then came Hiruzen, and eventually Orochimaru at Naruto's own hands. And though Orochimaru had deserved it, she couldn't help but lament the loss of one who was once a dear friend to her. When Dawn died, she had witnessed the tears in Orochimaru's eyes, not because he cared about him, but because Tsunade was crying he was too. She could never forget that, and even when she was told of all the cruel and evil things that he had done, she could only ever remember that one moment, which made her believe that he could have been saved. But he had passed, and now so too had Jiraiya. "Stupid Jiraiya," she said. "Stupid, adorable, sweet Jiraiya, leaving a lady alone like this." Time moved on. Pain was a fire that set upon the minds and souls of those who lived, set unintentionally by those who died, and for quite some time those wounds would smolder, the ashes of beautiful memories blown away by the bitterness of separation. But time heals all things. The seasons they turn, winter to spring, dulling the pain and erasing the sting. The seasons they turn, summer to fall, time's warm embrace begins to heal all. Or at least such would a wise verse in a wonderfully written yet criminally little known song might go. Naruto had begun to smile again, not without the help of Fukasaku and Shima. These two toad sages, the retainers of Jiraiya, had become commonplace in the sage's old home. But now that he was gone, their warm love had come to Naruto. He was grateful for them, but peace was but a temporary thing, and eventually fate's respite would come to a close as the six paths of pain invaded Konoha, searching for the Nine Tails. Not that Naruto would hide from them, he would appear out in the open, ready for them. To save you time, I will simply tell you that most of the six paths of pain were sinfully ineffective against Naruto, all save for one, the Diva Path, gravity. That was the specialty of the Diva Path. Gravity was one of the few forces in the universe that itself could bend space and time. Being without mass, gravity could so easily surpass the speed of light. Due to this, Naruto's absolute defense, the Limitless, which divided space before him into infinite slices of pie, was quickly overwhelmed as he was sent flying through the air. As he hit the ground with all that force, Naruto could just now understand how it was that Jiraiya could be killed by such a being. Standing back up again, Naruto would launch a reversal red at Pain, which he would deflect with a Shinra Tensei. The force would shred the reversal red. Pain would then form a Chubaku Tensei. It began in his hand as a small white singularity, but as its gravity was increased and finally tuned by Pain, even light could no longer escape it, causing a gravity well so deep that it began to pull things toward it. This caused a miniature celestial body to form around this small black hole. He would then push it toward Naruto. Naruto would see it coming down on top of him and then would begin using his Limitless to avoid it. Gravity began to come into play here. As he was caught between the two gravitational pulls of both Earth and the Chubaku Tensei, Naruto began to float up. Eventually, he grew closer to the Chubaku Tensei to the point that he was falling toward it. All the same, the Earth remained at his back. Naruto continued to fall, but then began multiplying space between him and the Chubaku Tensei. He only had one chance. He would form a hollow purple as large as he possibly could and fire it into the Chubaku Tensei. The orb would pierce through the massive rock's core and cause it to explode, the force of that explosion being enough to reverse Naruto's velocity and allow him to fall back to the earth gently. Standing, he turned toward Diva. That was a neat trick. I bet I could make use of it. He would form another hollow purple as Diva formed a Chubaku Tensei core. Naruto smiled. And so we've got a black hole versus a tachyon field. How interesting. Let's settle the question once and for all, cowboy. Naruto said with a slight bit more uncharacteristic knowledge than usual. Naruto would fire his hollow purple and Pain would fire his Chubaku Tensei. As the two masses grew closer, Naruto began pouring on cursed energy as Pain continued pouring on chakra. Eventually, there was a sudden loud hum, like the muffled cry of an explosion, silenced before it could even exist. And with that, Pain was gone. But this was not the end. Fukasaku picked up one of the rods left behind by the six paths and determined where the original body of Pain was located. There, Naruto met a tired man, a tired, crippled person whose hair was gray, their life force drained from the intensity of the battle. Naruto hated this person, or at least he wanted to. It was hard for him to hate someone so weak. All he could do now was feel bad for him. A woman was tending to him. She saw Naruto yet didn't care. She was attempting to take care of her master. Naruto stepped in. Why? He asked. The man looked at him. Naruto continued. Why did you kill Jiraiya? He was like a father to me. And as I've been told, he was like a father to you as well. Why kill him? Pain sat there. Because he was an obstacle to peace. Naruto questioned that. Peace? Nagato continued. Peace is unnatural between humans. We're all creatures with a will, with autonomy, freedom. And such freedom brings differences in beliefs, which leads to war. And in time, war itself becomes autonomous, sustaining itself through funds, creating jobs for the poor, filling the pockets of the powerful with blood money. Peace can't exist without agreement, and people can only agree when they have something that threatens them. Friends can only exist against a common enemy. That enemy was going to be me. For there to be any heroes, there must be a villain. For any angels, a devil. I loved Jiraiya, but he was the blood sacrifice, a necessity to bring about peace. I'll immortalize him in my heart forever. Naruto shook his head. So bleak, so edgy. Humans are creatures that adapt. We change. Humans hate change, yes. They fight it. They stumble and fall. But in the end, our determination to never give up causes us to change. Society changes, as does our environment. Our ways of living will change. I believe that if peace is not a natural state for us now, that it will eventually become one, but only if we give it time and if we nurture it. Peace doesn't come by forced evolution, but by spiritual revolution, a common resolution. Peace through tyranny is no peace at all, only quiet fear. Peace through peace is what you seek. Peace that is happy. Peace people will enjoy. Peace through pain is a band-aid.
Naruto thinks about it.
I could have so easily have been like you, but I chose not to be. I hate you, and I wish you would die for what you've done, but all the same, I don't want to kill you. I've made that decision. I will be the first resolution to end war through peace. It's what Jiraiya taught me, and it's what you seem to have forgotten.
Pain thinks about it.
Perhaps I have. Fine, I will trust you with the future, Naruto. The heart of true Akatsuki, the daybreak, rises with you.
Nagato then died, having wasted all of his chakra in that battle. The attack was repelled, but the war was still brewing on the horizon. Tsunade would travel to the 5 Kage summit in the Land of Iron to meet with the other 4 Kage, of which Gaara was one. And there, war was declared by Tobi under the name of Madara. And so, the 5 great nations began to prepare for war. Naruto convinced Tsunade to allow him to enter the war, and she allowed it. Together, they marched to battle. On their way, they would face the forces of the Edo Tensei, the last revenge of Orochimaru provided by the hand of his last surviving student, Kabuto. Naruto would once again face pain, and this time Itachi as well. However, the crow Itachi had given him would activate and free him from the control of Kabuto. Itachi would defeat Pain and thank Naruto before heading for Kabuto himself. Naruto and the rest of the allied shinobi forces make their way to the final battlefield, where Tobi is waiting. Naruto would enter battle against him, where he finds his limitless technique is all but useless. Somehow, Tobi is managing to break through this, and Naruto doesn't understand how. Naruto himself will attack Obito, but his hand would pass clean through. He began to wonder if it were somehow possible that Tobi had no mass, or could remove his mass. His entire body was like a ghost. Naruto went rolling. He would fire a reversal red, but it would pass through, the concussive force of the explosion doing nothing to change his movements. He fired a lapse blue, only to fire that this man was not affected by gravitational pull. He truly was like a ghost, but his speed did not appear to be all that great. It didn't appear to be infinite by any means. This meant to Naruto that he likely was utilizing dimensional hacks himself. After all, even if the man had no mass, he would still need to move at infinite speed to break through the limitless. It only made sense. He was nullifying Naruto's dimensional hacks with hacks of his own. But this was good information, as it meant that this man was still physical, just in another dimension. Naruto began to wonder what the limits to his limitless were. Then it hit him. It was limitless. He looked at Tobi and realized that for Tobi to appear yet be intangible via his hacks, he must be connecting dimensions loosely. A separate dimension open in the same space that Naruto had existed in. And so, to that end, Naruto began utilizing the limitless differently. Instead of using it to multiply space-time, he began utilizing it to simplify. He used it to punch through dimensional barriers, his fist punching through multiple spacetimes at the exact same time until he found Tobi's specific dimensional frequency. From there, his strikes began to land. But this was not it. The Ten Tails was already complete. They had never truly needed Naruto. They would have preferred him, but they already had enough of the Nine Tails chakra to activate the Ten Tails. And once it had been, it was absorbed by Tobi. Once the absorption was complete, Obito became a completely different beast. Swirling portals appeared from all around him. He would begin to punch through them to strike Naruto. Naruto would form a reversal red and tune it to the specific frequency of the Kamui dimension and then fire it. However, the very fabric of space around Obito shifted, splitting the blast in two. Naruto wasn't the only one learning here. Obito had been learning from Naruto due to how similar their powers truly were. Naruto would rush through, avoiding punches and kicks. If this was to work, he would need to get close with Hollow Purple. As the energy formed in his hand, he knew what it meant. Naruto would rush in and jump into the air. He then pushed his hand forward, utilizing the Hollow Purple technique to erase Obito completely. There was a flash of light and an explosion of chakra. Naruto is thrown back. He hit the ground and rolled. He came to a stop and looked up at Obito to find that he had been completely erased. Naruto smiled and then looked down to find that his arm was now missing. It now gushed blood. Naruto laid his hand back and smiled in resignation. "Pervy Sage, did I do good?" His eyes began to close.
There was the sound of birds singing outside. Tsunade walked the halls of the Hokage's residence looking over reports. Madara Uchiha's Ito Tensei was still at large, along with Black Zetsu, which was an issue. Both were still being hunted as they spoke, but with the Ten Tails out of play, it seemed that their plans had fallen apart. But it wasn't without a cost. Many brave shinobi had given their lives to make this happen. Eventually, she would pass into the hospital. She would walk up to a particular door and open it to see Naruto laying on a bed, remains of his arm wrapped up. As they spoke, they were cultivating more Hashirama cells. She would look to Kakashi. "Has he woken up recently?" she asked. Kakashi looked over. "Nothing besides the average muscle spasm that caused his eyes to open, but I don't think he regained consciousness. Sakura's been tending to him." Tsunade spoke. "He'd lost a lot of blood when we found him. It's only natural that he'd be comatose for a few weeks, but let's see if this doesn't help." She injects Naruto with something, and for a moment his lips turn into a smile. His eyes open, slightly, weakly. Tsunade smiles. "Welcome back to the land of the living, Naruto, and good job." Naruto sat on a building's rooftop. He thought back about everything. About his time in the Fourth Great Shinobi War, in how he had killed Obito Uchiha and stopped the Ten Tails. Though it had awakened, he had stopped it. These past years, Konoha had been doing nothing but training. They'd been trying to come up with the perfect way to deal with the issue that they saw coming. When it was destroyed, the Ten Tails was all together. It was no longer 9 separate beasts, but one massive beast. The only beasts that remained autonomous were Kurama and Gyuki. This might have seemed trivial, but it was known that tailed beasts were pure chakra, coalesced into physical form. When they died, they didn't truly die. Energy conservation was still a thing. And so long as their energy remained in chakra form, they would always regenerate. This included the Ten Tails. It too would reconstitute eventually. Konoha was currently awaiting the Ten Tails' return, which likely would result in the appearance of both Black Zetsu and Madara Uchiha's Ito Tensei. For that, Naruto had been training hard. Through Konoha's studies, they came to learn that curse energy was more than a simple energy source, but a highly spiritual one. Naruto had begun to notice that negative emotions in this world were starting to come together. Their studies of what curse energy did were based around a single encounter that had taken place just a few months earlier. One operation that they had called afterwards the first Cursed Spirit Neutralization Mission. It was a mouthful, but the name was exactly that. Naruto's first run-in with a cursed spirit. He thought back to those times. Naruto had been doing his daily duties, training when he could and serving the people, realizing just how many things had gone wrong and could go wrong. The Ten Tails was still awaiting regeneration, which set the world at a very fragile peace. Beyond this, Sasuke was still missing. He'd been missing since the Fourth Shinobi World War, and Naruto was starting to worry. After all, he had killed Itachi, so what was there left to do? Why not come back to the village? Why not at least contact them to let them know that he was okay? These things weighed heavily on his mind as he continued to push himself to the brink of his potential and then past it altogether. He couldn't explain it, but he felt that something was very wrong and that Sasuke was in a lot of trouble. He needed to do everything he could to save his friend, and to do that, he needed to be strong. It remained this way day in and day out until one day he was called to the Hokage's office. Tsunade sat at a table and looked to him. "Naruto." He closed the door behind him and sat down. "What is it, Lady Tsunade?" She pushed a piece of paper closer to him. A mission was ordered by a small village at the edge of the Land of Fire. Naruto began to read. "There's a small village at the edge of the Land of Fire that has requested aid. They're suffering from some epidemic that's gone unexplained by their medical practitioners. Due to this unexplained illness, I fear that it could spread to other villages and nations. I'm planning to send Sakura Haruno." Naruto nodded. "That only makes sense. She's the most skilled medical nin in all of Konoha, except for you, of course, Lady Tsunade." Tsunade smiled. "You are to aid her in this expedition." Naruto read over the paper. "What about Kakashi-sensei?" Lady Tsunade shook her head. "He's still on mission, searching for Madara and Zetsu. This will be a private task for only you and Sakura." Naruto nodded. "I understand." Tsunade stood to show him out. "You will be leaving tomorrow at 9 a.m. Safe travels. I wish you the best of luck." Naruto smiled. "Thank you." The day after, he met Sakura by the gate. Frankly, it had been quite some time since he saw her last. Naruto had been training and working a lot. No, that wasn't it. He had failed to bring Sasuke home as he had promised her he would, and because of that, he avoided seeing her out of guilt of his broken promise. Even now, he was nervous. He walked up to her slowly, with a cautious gaze in his eyes, keeping his face angled slightly toward the ground in so much as to cause him to almost look through his eyebrows when looking at Sakura.
"Hi, Sakura-chan," he said. She smiled and waved. "Hi, Naruto. It's been so long since we've last seen each other. How long has it been since we were last on mission together?" "Since the 4th Shinobi World War," Naruto responded. "Oh, so it's been 3 years then," she said. There was a little awkward silence between them as they stood there, searching for anything more to say. "How about we leave for the village now?" "That's a good idea." The two began to head for the target village to continue their mission. As they walked, Sakura spoke. "So, how are things with Hinata? You two are still dating, aren't you?" "We are. Things are going well. She's helping me adapt to my eyes better. Since the Byakugan and my dojutsu are functionally similar, her coaching has helped me overcome the strain they put on me, and has helped me to tune out unwanted information, which helps me focus on things I need to pay attention to. So there's that." Sakura smiled. "I always knew that you two were perfect for each other, not just because your eyes are similar." Naruto shrugged. "That whole moon incident with the Ten Saigon really brought us together." "Oh, I heard about that. What happened?" Sakura asked. "Well, I made it to the moon with the rest of the team and we went searching for Hinata. At the time, we were planning to destroy the moon, so our only mission was extraction. But it's a good thing we didn't destroy it. Turns out, humanity might have died without the moon. But I digress. I end up getting into a scuffle with the Ten Saigon user, Toneri, and ended up displaying our techniques to each other, subjecting each other to various attacks. He was strong, but he wasn't anywhere near the same threat level as the Ten Tails and Obito were. It wasn't hard to defeat him. I rescued Hinata and found out she had fixed my scarf. I realized I'd always loved her, but never knew it. I'd been too focused on another girl to notice. But now it's just absolutely perfect." Sakura laughed. "I'm glad." They continued walking. "You know I don't blame you, right?" Naruto looked over at Sakura. "Huh?" Sakura continued. "I don't blame you. For not bringing back Sasuke, I mean. You did your best, and Sasuke made a different decision. We can't always make things happen just because we want them to, Naruto." Naruto nodded. "I know, but even still, I gave my word, and my word is my ninja way. If I break my word, I break my nindo." Sakura shook her head. "I release you from your promise then." Naruto stepped in front of her to stop her. "No, you can't free me from this. That promise is just as much to myself as it is to you. If I can't bring Sasuke home, if I can't save a single person from the darkness of this world, then how can I even call myself a true shinobi? I need to save Sasuke. For myself, as much as it is for you." Sakura sighed. "Fine, but don't work yourself to death." They continued to walk until they eventually stumbled across the village they were searching for. It was cold and damp, and the inhabitants didn't seem to be very joyful. And why would they be? Their village's way of life was at risk. Naruto looked around and noticed a cemetery just beyond the tree line. Some trees were carved with epitaphs and soliloquies. Some possessed stone markers in front of them, and a lot of them were freshly dug. In fact, what appeared to be the Undertaker was sitting on a bench outside of a building, still holding his shovel. He looked tired. He must have been doing this a lot. Even now, he seemed to be only taking a break before continuing. "This is horrible," Naruto said as he looked on. Sakura nodded and looked around. She walked alongside Naruto to the home of the elder. Sadly, it seemed that the elder had died in this epidemic too, and they had left behind a son who appeared to be right now in his mid to late 40s. "Are you the one who sent for aid?" Sakura asked. The man looked back. "No, that was my mother. She sent the request. My apologies that she isn't here to greet you, but she was called up and away from us." Sakura lowered her head into a respectful bow, to which Naruto emulated. "Our condolences for your loss and apologies for the lateness of our arrival." The man nodded. "What matters is that you're here now. Maybe you can help us figure out what's causing this and how to fix it." "If you'll show me to the next patient, I can begin work immediately," Sakura said. The man would lead her to the nearest home where, within, there was a sick child. "Even the children aren't safe from the disease. We're losing our mothers and fathers, our sons and daughters. If it keeps going at this rate, both our history and our future will cease to be, and all that will be left is the stagnant present. It'll mark the end of the village as a whole and the death of an entire culture." Sakura came to the child's side. "Can you hear me? What's your name?" The tiny boy, who appeared to be no older than 5, weakly opened his eyes. "Jinpei." She smiled cautiously. "Hi, Jinpei. I'm Sakura. I'm a doctor from Konohagakure. I've been sent to help you feel better and figure out what's wrong with your village. Will you be a strong boy and let me help you?" Jinpei nodded. Sakura began an examination of the boy, trying to pinpoint the cause of the disease. She even began taking a blood test, all while the current elder watched on. Naruto spoke with the elder. "Excuse me, Taiyo," the man said. "Can I ask what your connection to this boy is? You appear to be very distraught about this." The elder looked over. "Jinpei is my youngest son. He's the last child I'll ever produce, especially since his mother." The man took a breath.
First my wife, then my mother. Now it's going to take Jinpei from me. When will my suffering end? When will the disease take my life? At this point, it would almost be a mercy. Just then, a voice could be heard screaming from outside. Sakura looked back for a moment before continuing her examination. Naruto and the chief walked out to see a boy. I saw it again! The face of death! It encircles our village like an Ouroboros of perpetual death. This village has sinned in the eyes of the kami, and we must make atonement, he cried. The chief walked over and grabbed the boy by the ear and began walking back to the house with him. Naruto could hear him mumbling something, and what it was, he had no clue. Naruto followed him back into the house, where he took the boy to his bedroom, pushed him in, and closed the door, locking it thereafter. Naruto was confused and a bit shocked by this turn of events. He walked to the chief and asked, "Is that really necessary, Chief Taiyo?" The chief looked at Naruto. My son continually runs away at daylight into the forest. It all began after his mother died. As if this pandemic isn't enough, the farms around here keep reporting that he's stealing livestock to serve as sacrifices. He nearly burned down the whole damn forest a few weeks ago. Why does he do this? Naruto asked. The chief shook his head. His grandmother often spoke of legends, tales, and yokai, and my gullible son believed every word he heard. Now he thinks this village is cursed and needs to be cleansed. Foolishness. Naruto listened to the father speak. He then heard beating on the door. Dad, let me out. I need to tell people about this. We need to pray for divine intervention or it'll only get worse. Please. The chief ignored this and continued to tend to his youngest son, Jinpei. Sakura proceeded to run a few tests over the next few hours. Everything turned up negative. She washed her hands thoroughly just to try and protect herself. She realized that being so close to the child in a village plagued by an epidemic was dangerous, so washing her hands likely meant nothing. More than likely, the disease was already spreading through the air as opposed to physical contact. She was probably already exposed and infected by now, but all the same, just in case, she washed her hands. I have no idea what disease this is. It bears the same symptoms as a flu, but there's also boils and rashes that come as well. And when they vomit, the vomit's black. It's like a mixture of many diseases all at once, but the blood tests come up negative for any disease at all, so I'm stumped. What should we do now? Naruto asked. Sakura thought about it. I've got no clue. I'm gonna have to start testing the black substance in the vomit, see if that can explain what's happening. For all I know, they're all being poisoned by a bad well. Maybe they're poisoned, or maybe it's a parasite. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this before. But rest assured, if I can pin it down, I will. Naruto stepped out. As he did so, he saw that the front door had been opened and that the boy from earlier was kneeling beside Jinpei, hand in hand, prayer beads in one, praying. He looked back toward the door and saw that it was still locked and closed. How did you get out? He asked. Through the window, the boy said. Dad locked my door. He didn't lock my window. Naruto nodded. What's your name? The boy spoke without looking up. Sora. What are you doing, Sora? Naruto asked. Praying. I'm trying to see if I can get our villager's kami to forgive us. Forgive you for what? Naruto asked. For trespassing on his temple. Naruto heard this and began to wonder about what Sakura had said about being unable to identify the illness. Could it be possible? Naruto knelt down. When you finish praying, can we talk outside? The boy nodded. Naruto walked outside and sat down on the porch and waited. Eventually, the boy came out. Tell me more about what you've seen. Sora began to explain things to him. My grandmother says that a long time ago, when our village was still young, a temple descended from the heavens, home to a god of war. It was said that this god became the guardian of our village and continued to protect us for eons. But when our village fell on hard times and prayers went unanswered, they decided to raid the temple of anything of value to sell in hopes that we would survive the winter. It's no coincidence that after this, everyone began to get sick. My father blames trading with a foreign nation where disease is rampant, but I think it's divine punishment. All the onmyoji of the village have died, including my grandmother, so I'm left alone to try and make atonement for our village. I bring sacrifices often to burn before the temple in hopes that the kami within will forgive us, but he never answers my prayers. Despite this, I continue. And just earlier today, I saw him. I saw the kami for the first time rise up out of one of his towers, slithering towards the highest perch. I came home to tell everyone, but nobody believes me, and then Dad locked me up. Naruto nodded. Can you show me this temple? The boy nodded. He stood and led Naruto through the forest by torchlight toward a large building in the center of a clearing. Naruto looked at it. The size of this temple was immense. It was made of stone and almost looked like a fortress by design. The boy led Naruto to the altar where charred bones of stolen calves and of goats lay upon the ground. The boy tried to explain the process to Naruto, but Naruto couldn't help but keep his eyes on the temple. He sensed something was there. What it was, he did not know, but it was dark, evil, wrong. He couldn't help but walk further toward the temple. What are you doing? The boy cried out in a hushed tone. This whole thing started because we transgressed on the Kami's domain. If you go walking in there, you'll only upset him more. Naruto looked back. Well, maybe we need to have a real talk with this supposed Kami. It seems your offerings aren't helping any, and maybe he needs a good talking to. Don't be stupid, the boy said. Naruto waved him off. If you're too scared, I understand. If I'm not back in an hour, go tell Sakura where I went. The boy stood there for a moment, his restless feet moving yet keeping him in place, as if he were doing the dance of one with a full bladder. Fine, wait up! He ran after Naruto. The two entered the building. Within, it was dark and cold, yet somehow felt alive. Like they weren't alone, like they were being watched. They moved into an open chamber. Kami! Come out, Kami! We gotta talk to you, Naruto shouted. The boy hugged onto Naruto. Don't provoke him, please, I'm begging you. I don't want it to kill anyone else. Naruto scoffed. I doubt he will. I don't see him anywhere, he's a no-show. The boy's grip grew tighter around Naruto. Naruto looked down to see the boy's face growing paler as he looked up at him. What is it? Naruto asked. Naruto then realized that Sora was not looking at him, but past him. Naruto looked up to see something slithering along the ceiling of the room. It then dropped. Naruto turned around and began running. He tackled Sora to get him out of the way, protecting him with his body as the massive creature fell to the ground. When it settled, Naruto spoke. Are you okay? The boy nodded. I think so. Naruto then rolled off him and stood. He saw the creature. It looked massive, like a leech. Its face was covered by a no mask. What was it? Oh, I sense something interesting in you, it said to Naruto. Naruto nodded. I'm a Jinchuriki. The beast scoffed at this. No, I sense within you the power of an onmyoji. I sense cursed energy. Naruto was confused. What? The beast spoke. Cursed energy. The people of the land of the sky called it dark chakra. It's formed from the negative emotions of people. When their collective fears come together, something new is born. I'm given life by their fear of death, their fear of war. What are you? Naruto asked. The beast slowly hissed as it circled around Sora and Naruto. I am the Zero Tails, or so the people of this world call me. Are you the one hurting our people? Why? Have my burnt offerings not pleased you? Sora asked. Do you require a human sacrifice? I'll gladly be the sacrifice. Please, just spare my people. He pulled out a knife. Naruto grabbed his hand and stopped him. This thing is not a god, he told the child. It's a cursed spirit, made of pure negative energy. It didn't create anything, it's just a monster. One we can kill, and when we do, your village will be safe. The beast sneered. The only ones who could defeat me were the Onmyoji of 300 years ago. And now, thanks to my plague, none remain. You're wrong, Naruto said. I carry the power to supplant you, and so does Sora. What? I do? Naruto nodded. Didn't you say that you've been doing the work of the village's Onmyoji after they died? Naruto knelt down. Listen, I sense something special in you, something not everyone has. Anyone can use their chakra, but you possess something new. Use it. Use it to help me defeat this creature. If you do, I promise, it will save your village. Sora nodded. All right. Naruto stood there. What's the first step to exorcise an evil spirit like this, Sora? Sora thought about it. Limit where it can go. He would then take out tags. If people with the power of Onmyoji use these, they can create a barrier that stops it from leaving. Naruto took them and filled them with cursed energy and then spread his arms, allowing them to attach to the walls. The creature hissed at them. Now what? Naruto asked. We need to use our power to cleanse the dark spirit. Naruto nodded. Leave that to me, Sora. I got this. Naruto would run in and coat his hand in cursed energy and strike the beast, knocking it back. It would then use its tentacles to defend itself. It would strike Naruto and send him flying through the air and into a wall. Naruto would bounce off it. He would raise his hand. Cursed technique, lapse blue, he would say as he fired a blue singularity at it. The creature would use its dark chakra to protect itself, and would then coil around a pillar for stability as blue began to take effect. Sora was almost pulled in until Naruto nullified blue. The creature would then strike out at Naruto once again, ramming him into a wall. As this happened, Sora knew he had to help. He pulled out another tag. Please, work, he said as he began pressing his hands to it. Do something, he shouted to the tag as he tried pouring his negative emotions into it. But all that happened was that he was beginning to cry. I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose him. I'm going to lose Jinpei just like I lost Mom. Just like I lost you, Grandma. Suddenly, as if he were visited by her spirit, and perhaps he was, he witnessed an old memory. An elderly woman wiping the tears from his eyes. I can't do it, Grandma. I'll never be an Onmyoji like you. She shushed him. My child, do not despair, she said. Your negative emotions are not bad. You don't need to be afraid of them because pain is proof of life. It's proof that you possess a heart and the capacity to love. But what sets an onmyoji apart from a simple person is that instead of letting that negativity control them, the onmyoji controls their negativity. So simply focus on what you cannot afford to lose and then double your conviction and refusal to give in, and it will come to you. And in that moment, Sora was back in the present. Naruto was pushed back. He rolled across the ground, battered and bruised. Sora looked up and saw the beast charging at them. He tried not to panic. He thought about his grandmother and about his mother, and now he was thinking about Jinpei. I will not lose them. Suddenly, his hand flared to life with cursed energy. The tag began to glow, and from it, he pulled a large, long bow and arrow. The creature paused for a moment before doubling down on its speed to get to them. Naruto looked up with wonder. The boy took the bow and drew back the string. The entire bow was glowing with cursed energy. Suddenly, the energy shifted into something else. Feel the light from within my heart. Naruto was in awe. Reverse curse energy. Sora lined up his shot. As the beast was bearing down on them, he let the arrow fly. The arrow struck the no mask of the Zero Tails and passed through, going through the beast from head to tail in a single blow, causing the whole creature to rupture to pieces and then disintegrate from exposure to reverse curse energy. You did it, Naruto said. You did it! He lifted the boy off his feet and spun him in a circle, resting him on his shoulders. Now we should go back. We need to see if the village is better. Naruto rushed back with him into the village and back into his home. He sat Sora down and prepared to tell them everything. But there they saw Chief Taiyo and Sakura by Jinpei's side. Naruto's heart almost stopped. Sora walked up to Jinpei's side. Jinpei was still breathing, but he was near the end. Sakura looked up. There's nothing I can do. Sora took Jinpei's hand and held it. Jinpei, I did it. I defeated a cursed spirit. I'm a real onmyoji now, just like Grandma. I can do it. The boy didn't respond and merely continued struggling to breathe. Please, Jinpei, you can be one too, but I need you to live. Please, don't give up. Naruto knelt down to Sora and put his hand on his shoulder. He gave Sora whatever was left in his cursed energy reserves. Do whatever you can with that. Sora nodded to Naruto in thanks. He then took up his brother's hand. He held it tightly. The pain of losing his brother and the pain of losing his grandmother. Two pains, two equal negative pains. Together they ran. These pains strided side by side within Sora's heart to ensure that he would never lose again. These two cursed energies mixed into reverse curse energy. He would flow it into Jinpei. He pushed until all of the energy was used up. There seemed to be no reaction. Sora began to shed tears as his grip on Jinpei's hand grew tighter. I'm sorry, Jinpei. I wasn't good enough. Slowly, Jinpei's hand gripped Sora's tighter. Sora opened his eyes to see Jinpei smiling weakly at him. I saw Grandma, he said. She told me to come back to you. Sakura sat there, stunned. She couldn't explain this in any scientific way. Not long after this, the rest of the village began to recover. The epidemic came to a close, and Naruto bid a tearful farewell to Sora, Jinpei, and their father, Taiyo. They returned to Konoha, where they informed Tsunade of what had happened while they were gone, and how it seemed that spirits could form of negative energy from cursed energy that people put off. This began a totally new study on cursed energy and its applications. They slowly began to understand what it was, how it was used, and what it could do, for better or worse. Returning from his reverie, Naruto found he was still on the rooftop. It had only been a few months since his visit to the Land of Sky, but he was considering going back there to check up on Sora and Jinpei. Ever since the destruction of the Zero Tails, its monopoly on negative emotions was lost, and these cursed spirits were now starting to form everywhere. In a world so torn by hatred and death, it was no surprise. At least 3 of these cursed spirits had formed in the Forgotten Uchiha compound alone, and with his power, he exorcised them. Each time he made use of his techniques and exorcised the cursed spirits, Konoha learned a little more. It became known that it might be possible for Naruto to kill Madara Uchiha. Considering that he was merely an unclean spirit attached to a defiled body, the only way to kill such a creature was to cleanse it. Up until this point, they had no way to seal or cleanse one as strong as Madara. But now it was believed that it wouldn't be such a difficult thing to do. All Naruto needed to do was get close enough. And if both Zetsu and Madara were successfully defeated, then they could be certain that the threat of the Ten Tails would be lessened. That was until Naruto received the call. Receiving a text from Tsunade that simply read, "Get over here now," Naruto jumped from the rooftop and began to make his way to the Hokage's office. Once he got there, he found Tsunade by her desk. "What is it, Granny Tsunade?" he asked. "Naruto, we just received a troubling report from Kakashi." "What is it?" Naruto asked. "He reported that the Ten Tails just reformed on the battlefield and it's rampaging. We can only assume that Madara and Zetsu will appear there soon. You need to get out there. You're our only hope of stopping Madara." And so Naruto left for the battlefield that he had once fought the 4th Shinobi World War on. As he came to the top of the mountain, he looked down and saw the barren landscape where he once waged war. It was still riddled with craters and no life grew there. And at its center was the Ten Tails. He witnessed explosions and chakra chains as the allied shinobi forces once again attempted to contain the beast. As Naruto made his way down to battle, however, he saw not Zetsu and Madara, but instead Sasuke. Naruto stood there for a moment. "Sasuke, what are you doing here?" Sasuke stood there silently facing away from Naruto. He then spoke. "Naruto, I made a really big mistake." Naruto couldn't deny this. "Yes, you did, but things that happened in the past remain there. Just help us, come home." Sasuke shook his head. "I can't come home, Naruto. Not now, not ever." "Why not?" Naruto asked. "Because I threw in my lot with Zetsu and Madara." Naruto looked around after hearing Sasuke say that. "What? Well, that's okay, I'll help you out of it. Where are they?" Sasuke shook his head. "They're gone. I killed them." Naruto was surprised. "You killed them? Then what's the issue?" It almost sounded like Sasuke was crying. "I sold my soul to do it, Naruto. I wanted power, and I got it. Now, it'll never let me go." Naruto took a step forward. "Sasuke." Sasuke turned around, displaying 4 eyes. "Kill me before I hurt someone." Naruto was shocked. Suddenly, Sasuke convulsed. "That's enough from you," a new voice said as dark markings began to cover his body. Naruto stepped back as he sensed an overwhelmingly large amount of cursed energy emanating from this being. Who are you? And what have you done to Sasuke?" The man popped his neck. "Oh, you mean this vessel? I took it over. What else do you think? Is that so surprising to you? I sense that you are also a vessel for something with incredible strength." Naruto was stunned that this being would know that. "How did you possess Sasuke?" The man stood there, admiring the fact that he once more possessed a physical body. "You were the first to open the door, Naruto. Your birth marked a convergence of 2 spacetimes. But your continual existence and usage of said powers, and your exercising of a powerful cursed spirit created an anchor. One I used to arrive here. All I had to do was promise power, as all people want, and it was hook, line, and sinker. The Zetsu, and the one you call Madara, wished to use me to counter you, and to take this Ten Tails, but I did not need them." Each of the eyes possessed a Mangekyo Sharingan. The primary pair possessed Sasuke's unique ones, while the second pair of eyes possessed Itachi's. But as he spoke, suddenly all 4 shifted to Rinnegan. "All I need is the Ten Tails. After all, this beast possesses the ability to put the world to sleep. Infinite dreams means infinite nightmares. Infinite nightmares will become a never-ending well of negative emotions, giving birth to cursed energy and cursed spirits. All I need to do is use this simple world as a battery, from which to spread my fear and influence. I'll become more than the king of curses. I'll become the demon god of all curses. Nobody will be able to stop me, not even you." Sukuna would rush Naruto with a flurry of punches. Naruto narrowly avoided them and struck back, but his attacks seemed to do little to no damage, and whatever damage they do, it's easily repaired by curse reverse healing technique. Naruto knows that he'll never win up close, so he pushes back and attempts to use Limitless. Doing so allows him to stop Sukuna from getting close. "This should buy me some time," Naruto thinks. Sukuna then spoke. "Is this the Limitless? Are those the 6 Eyes?" Naruto feels fear radiate outwards from his chest. Sukuna thinks and smiles. Brings back old memories. One of the greatest battles of my life. Or my afterlife. "Then that means you should stay away from me," Naruto said. Sukuna laughed a little. "No, you're not the same as the warrior I faced. And even if you were, it didn't turn out well for that man." Naruto attempted a curse reverse red, firing it at Sukuna, only for Sukuna to carve it to pieces with this mantle. Naruto would then attempt his break glass in case of emergency ability. "Hollow purple!" he shouted as he fired the attack at Sukuna. Sukuna simply ripped open his shirt and laughed with joy at getting to experience such an attack again. He took it head on. It exploded, leaving behind a smoldering crater. Naruto stood there, breathing heavily. Surely this would be enough. It erases whatever it touches, but to his horror, he saw Sukuna walking from the crater with only burns on his body. Burns that he proceeded to heal. "What kind of monster are you?" Naruto asked. Naruto had no clue what to do. He didn't seem to be capable of stopping Sukuna. There was only one thing he could do. He attempted domain expansion. "If I can't kill you physically, then I'll destroy you mentally," he shouted as he began to expand his domain. But as he did so, Sukuna began to raise his own domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. The 2 expansions were vying for control. Sukuna sighed. "You truly aren't as good as that one sorcerer. Your use of the domain expansion is sloppy at best. You take longer to create it, and you make it far smaller than his." Sukuna began to attack Naruto's domain from the outside to destroy it, which seemed to work. It was then that Naruto was struck with a near innumerable amount of strikes all in a single moment. He began to panic. His body was being shredded. Immediately, Naruto was pulled into his subconscious. There he fell to his knees, the water below him slowly turning pink with blood. He looked up to see Kurama standing there.
Naruto, you would let that man destroy you.
I'm trying, Ninetales. I really am, but he's too strong. Kurama grunted.
Then take my power and kill him.
Naruto was confused. Your power?
Kurama nodded. If he defeats you, he'll take me, and he'll add me to the Ten Tails. I'd rather cooperate with you than die. Now take this, all the power I have currently, and use it to fuel your abilities. Destroy him.
But Sasuke? Kurama shook his head.
Sasuke's long gone by now. There's no saving him. All you can do is defeat this man. You can barely survive on your own. This is your one and only chance to win. Do not squander it, or life will be a living hell for all. That's what Sasuke would want. That's what he'd ask for.
That's correct, a voice said. Naruto turned back to see Sasuke. Sasuke, what are you doing here? Sasuke then spoke. With little control I have left, I cast a genjutsu that allowed me to enter your mind. I want you to know that it's okay. I did this to myself. I was jealous of you, and now I must pay the price. Kill me, Naruto. Kill me and return peace to the world. Naruto hugged him. No, I won't. You're my friend. Is Sakura not your friend, Naruto? Naruto's eyes continue to run over with tears. If you're fretting about the promise she made you make, then replace it. Replace it with a new promise. Promise me that you'll protect her by killing Sukuna along with me. Promise me. Naruto was silent. Promise me, Naruto. I promise, Sasuke. And in that moment, as Naruto was being savagely cleaved to pieces by Sukuna, Naruto's body took on a golden hue, a chakra mode. He would use his power to burst out of the domain expansion and would destroy it with a tailed beast ball. Sukuna would pull away just in time to avoid being struck too. Naruto rushed in and began to strike out at him. Things were feeling a bit more fair. As they exchanged blows, Sukuna began to laugh with excitement.
Now this is what I've been waiting for.
You won't get to experience it for long, Naruto said as he utilized Limitless to push Sukuna away. Naruto would then use his multi-shadow clone jutsu. Each one would attempt to strike Sukuna. Once more, Sukuna would attempt to use domain expansion. Naruto would as well, and this time their domains were evenly matched and sized. Due to this stalemate, Sukuna utilizes domain amplification to amplify his own curse energy into an aura containing his domain. He would strike out at Naruto, who would realize that with this technique, Sukuna was now capable of negating the Limitless's absolute defense. Naruto began to play more offensively. Summoning more shadow clones, he had many fight, but a few more he commanded to stay back. He would then order half to use Lapse Blue and the other half to use Reverse Red. Naruto would manage to surprise Sukuna and get in a fairly quick and hard-striking combo, knocking him back into the shrine. Naruto would then order his clones to pour all of their chakra into their attack. They would fire the red and blue into Sukuna, which not only did damage by itself, but then condensed into hollow purple. Sukuna cried out,
Stop! Stop! You'll kill your friend too!
All the shadow clones disappeared. Naruto nodded. I know. Sasuke, I'm sorry. Naruto then channeled all the power he had into his next attack and launched an even greater hollow purple at Sukuna, managing to completely eradicate him once and for all, alongside Sasuke. As the domains collapsed, Naruto fell to his knees, exhausted. With the threat of Madara and Zetsu already neutralized and the threat of Sukuna defeated by Naruto, the allied shinobi forces were capable of sealing the Ten Tails away once more. Naruto would be returned to Konoha, where he'd be put into the hospital to recover. There he met Sakura. He woke up to her sitting beside him. He was ashamed of himself. All the same, he told her what he had to do. She told him it was okay, but he knew that she was simply putting on a brave face. He would then be visited by Tsunade. He would inform her about what happened. He told her that Sukuna had explained of a multiversal convergence and how Naruto had got his powers, and how he had inadvertently opened a door that allowed new threats in. Tsunade understood and explained that while Naruto had been out, she'd been busy, and had been in contact with Sora and Jinpei, inviting them to Konoha. There, she hoped that they, along with Naruto, could establish a new order of Onmyoji to help face this new threat, something she titled the Jujutsu Sorcerers Program. Naruto would be offered a spot to help teach, and he'd agree. Together, he'd begin teaching a subclass of shinobi in the arts dedicated to Jujutsu, alongside Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, and Genjutsu. It wouldn't be long after that Naruto would marry Hinata, and the two would give birth to their first son. This boy possessed what felt like even greater Jujutsu potential than Naruto, but I guess that's another story for another day. Alright, I'll leave this one open too. You all just seem to love the last one so much that it would feel wrong to not leave it open to at least another part.
Not saying that it'll happen, of course. For all intents and purposes, take this as the final chapter. However, same deal as last time, if this video sees a lot of views and receives a lot of likes, I'll begin working on a new video in this series. Would you like to see that? If so, be sure to tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when we drop more content like this. Until then, peace.